Well, hey everybody, welcome to my 500-ish subscriber special. Tonight we have a live show coming to you from beautiful Cave Town Park. I have a few friends going to be joining me with this program, so give me a second and I'll bring them in. First up, we have Anthony Bailey. Anthony? Anthony? Oh, 1 second, folks. I need to make a quick call.
Yeah.
Hello, Anthony?
No, it's me, Anthony.
You okay, man? You sound a little funny.
No, I'm just on some demonstrations.
Okay. Well, anyway, the show's getting ready to start, buddy. Are you coming?
Oh, yeah, I'll be right there.
Okay, I'll see you in a few secs. Well, while we're waiting on Anthony, let me introduce you to a lady who really needs no introduction. You know her, you love her. Please welcome to the show, Jen Morgan. Hey, Jen, glad you made it. But man, I wonder what's keeping Anthony.
Oh, wrong number. Damn quick dials. Drizzle, 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 thud. Follow them with all we got. Drizzle, 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 drawl. World domination or nothing at all. E pluribus unum, e dominus sancti.
Well, while Anthony's trying to find his way through cyberspace, let's introduce our next guest, the talking head himself, Dead Kennedy in Space. Hey, Kevin, welcome to the show.
What is the problem? Time, other dimension. Forgot to give those in. Here we go.
I can't imagine what's keeping Anthony, but while we're waiting, I'll introduce our next guest. Please welcome Blue Earth Thing. Good to see you, Blue. Thanks for coming.
I forgot about this part.
Anthony, you made it. Attaboy, knew you could do it. And last but not least, our international man of mystery and everyone's favorite lurker, Anti-Flatter. Great to see you, Anti-Flatter, and welcome everybody to the show. Everybody. And welcome everybody in the chat. I'm so glad you're all here for our 500 plus live subscriber special. Let me once again go around the room here and let you get to know everybody that's on the panel. Anthony, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your channel?
Well, I have my regular channel, it's Anthony Bailey, and I have my secondary channel, it's Stoneheart Bread. It's just starting out. I have a couple videos there. Just be talking my opinion on different kind of things.
And yes, your opinions are great. I've been loving your channel, and thank you for showing up for our show tonight. And Jen Morgan, why don't you let everybody know who you are and a little bit about what you do on YouTube?
I do nothing on YouTube except lurk and harass people, but we do have a channel that is under development, still in pre-production and all that stuff, so it's not actually doing any presentations yet, but it is coming and it's going to be good.
And you are so good at picking on the flurfs when they're in the live chats. It's been really fun to watch.
I just like picking on flirts. It's a good hobby.
Well, and you're very good at it. I'll be really excited to see your channel when it's up and running. So everybody in the live chat, after the show, go check out Jen Morgan's channel and Anthony's channel and give them some love and support as new creators. Next up, we've got Blue Earth Thing. Go ahead, show yourself, buddy.
Hey, yeah, I'm Blue Earth Thing. I usually have a channel. My channel is called Blue Earth Thing. If you look it up, you'll probably find it. I also have a Twitter account named Blue Earth Thing and Instagram named Blue Earth Thing. If you find anything called Blue Earth Thing, that's probably me. But I have a channel in which I debunk flat earthers. I talk about rockets and the Apollo missions and rocket engines and stuff like that. And I'll even touch on other conspiracy theories. But yeah, that's about it. And congratulations on your 500 subs, man.
Oh, thank you, sir. And how often are you mistaken for Blue Marble Science?
Oh man, anyone else that's named Blue, I get mistaken all the time.
Yeah, so no donkeys on your channel, right?
The reason why I named myself Blue Earth Thing is that I initially named myself Blue Marble, and Young Blue Skeptic, who's now called that, was also named Blue Marble at the time, and so I changed my name and he changed his.
Oh, got it. Okay, well, glad you're here. And Dead Kennedy in Space, say hi to everybody. Show yourself, man.
Ahoy, hoy. How's everybody doing tonight?
Oh, we're great. So what's going on your channel, buddy?
Lots. I've actually got pretty big plans in the future. I'm a conspiracy debunker. I talk space science, and I occasionally do other random videos not related to anything.
Yeah, and I know you told me right before the show started that you were feeling a little under the weather. So if you feel the need to say goodbye, please do so. I just wanted to give the audience a heads up that you may not be here for the whole show, but we still love you.
And I do apologize for that. I am not feeling too great, so I may drop out fairly soon. But I did want to come here and say congratulations, Logical, for reaching 500. I saw 525 before we went live, so congratulations.
Oh, no kidding.
You deserve it and then some. And I'm also going to mirror this stream with a special introduction for myself at a later date.
We appreciate that, and so yeah, please do feel free to use any of my content anytime you guys want to. That's perfectly fine with me. And last but not least, our future boy, fresh back from his European tour and everybody's favorite lurker, Anti-Flatter.
Oi, mate.
How's it going, Anti-Flatter?
Yeah, no, she's all good, mate, and congratulations, my man.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Anything new going on your channel? Anything in the works you want to tell anybody about?
Nah, not on my channel itself. I'm still trying to get my feet back on the ground after Europe, but like you, I'll shill the crap out of the Shills channel. And great little show where you get together and just talk crap. You lot get drunk and I get jealous.
Okay, well, be ready with some of those witty remarks because we've got some things to talk about tonight. And I wanted to let everybody watching know that Canadian Thomas is our producer tonight. Go ahead and say hi, Tom, and tell everybody about your channels.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Canadian Thomas, also known as Dick Dawson from World Model Feud. And, I do some Flat Earth parody songs and some Flat Earth parody videos. And myself, along with Logical Troglodyte here, and Andy Flatter, and Dead Kennedy in Space, are all members of the Shills, a new live show that we've been doing for the last little bit. And, check us out. It's pretty good stuff.
Yes, it is. Thanks, Tom. And then we have two guys that decided to volunteer to be our chief mods tonight, Taddy Boggle and Robert Legere. Say hi, guys.
Hello there. Good. Thanks for having us on, man. This is going to be an absolute pleasure to be here for your 500 subs special. Logical, my man. I'm telling you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, and thank you for showing up. Thanks for stepping up when I asked. How about you, Robert? Robert? Please stand by. We are experiencing technical difficulties with our individual in wherever he is. Well, Robert will say hi when he gets his mic sorted out. So anyway, yeah, they're going to be keeping an eye on the chat for any interesting things that are going on, questions that are being asked, and every once in a while may step in and say, "Hey guys, so and so says such and such." So anyway, one of the things that the group here was talking about a week or so ago is that stupid proliferates, and it seems to be getting more socially acceptable, at least today, than it was back when I was growing up in the 70s. And I'm curious to how the different panel members here, and we're all different ages from 22 to 65. Do we see as generational individuals a difference in how socially acceptable stupid is? So I'll throw that out there and discuss, guys. And don't everybody jump in at once.
Did we talk?
100%. This is like a horrible product of the internet age where stupid ideas have moved from the soapbox on the street to all over the internet.
Yeah, and I know when you guys were growing up, Kevin, Blue Earth thing, Annie Flatter, that you guys kind of were raised in an environment where you weren't really supposed to make fun of individuals for whatever reason, right? And that was totally different when I was growing up. You can tell whatever joke however, but PC is really taking over. So does that affect your views about the stupid on the internet today?
I don't actually know about that, well, not with the PC stuff, but in the South, it's more of a, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. Not as much as a political correctness kind of deal. But growing up around the internet and with the internet and everything like that, I've seen it more of as a free-for-all and being able to say what you want, especially growing up with live chat on video games and stuff like that. I think the stupid is not coming from that side. It's coming more from it allows people to think that they deserve an audience. So they get out on a social media platform and go out and try to attract that audience. And when they do, stupid attracts stupid and everything like that. And there's a lot of Dunning-Kruger effect involved. But I think that's kind of the direction it comes from, not as much as a PC or not being able to or not insulting people, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. And you said something a week or so ago when we were first discussing putting together a live stream.
Yeah.
That you didn't see the conspiracy stupid as a threat, and I thought that was a very interesting way to word that. Can you tell our audience a little bit about that part of it?
Yeah. I don't really see it as a threat in that I see the crazy conspiracies just going to attract the people who already believe in crazy conspiracies and things like that. Because I think what we're dealing with a numbers issue instead of a percentages issue. I think the percentages of people who believe these crazy things are going to be this, like the percentage of people who will believe the crazy theory when they hear it will stay the same. It's just that now more people are able to hear the crazy theory, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
So the people who usually wouldn't believe in these conspiracy theories only because they haven't heard them, now they're going to hear these conspiracy theories and believe in them. So I think the percentages are kind of staying the same. In that the majority of people will always not believe in these crazy conspiracy theories, not believe the Earth is flat, not believe that the moon landing is fake and stuff like that. Because a good piece of evidence I can rely on this is the fact that when it comes to the moon landing conspiracy theory, that percentage of people who believe that has stayed relatively the same, even all the way up until now. And if anything, it's raising a little bit with the millennials, but it's raising from like 16% to 18%. So it's not like it's a drastic rise.
Right. And now, before I throw my 2 cents worth in about this, Anthony, I'd love to hear what you have to say about whether or not this stupid, is proliferating, if it's becoming more socially acceptable, if it's a threat or not.
I don't know about socially acceptable. I agree with Blue Earth thing, on his opinion, every town had their little guy on a soapbox saying, "Oh, the world's ending tomorrow," and that's about as far as it went. But with the internet age and everything, it's now all those one guys in every little town is now connected through the internet, and those people with the same mindset are going to flock together.
Yeah.
I think it's also important to notice that, and this goes directly to the folks that are, say, I would say under 30. I'm just trying to pick out a number that would tend to indicate people that are born post 1990. I was a child of the 50s and 60s for my education. I remember Dwight D. Eisenhower. Once on TV, I can remember watching him. So that was pretty young. In those days, we only had 3 television stations, the 3 networks. We only had 2 local papers. I grew up in Milwaukee. We had a morning paper and an evening paper. And then maybe the parents or a neighbor got Reader's Digest or Life magazine or something like that. So the communication nationally, internationally was very limited compared to what it is now. It not only was it limited in terms of choices, but time. Television was started at 6 in the morning and turned off at midnight. And now, of course, we're on a 24-hour cycle for everything. So for the young folks, just try to imagine how different that was then.
Certainly.
Everything you roll up the sidewalks and everybody goes to bed at 10 o'clock.
Yep. And back in our day, nobody locked their doors usually, unless you lived in the city, Now
I think my generation and Logicals, you're in this group too. I think we're the last people that grew up that way.
It's similar to growing up in New Zealand. Like when I was growing up, we had the 3 channels, but only 2 of them had a news station on it, and we had only the 1 newspaper. So any information you really got, especially growing up, came direct from there. And if they had their own biases and that's what you grew up learning. And as you say too, no one bothered locking their doors because there's no point. Nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
Did you guys in New Zealand have that little crazy guy on the street corner saying the end is near?
No, we got different types of issues in New Zealand. We didn't really have the end is nigh and all of that. We definitely had our religious groups and still do. But most of ours came from the end of colonization and the issues that have come from that.
I see. And personally, when I first started doing this channel, I just kind of looked at Flat Earth, because it popped up unexpectedly in my suggested feed as isn't that funny? Ha ha. And eventually got to where it's like I started yelling at the TV, and Babe says, "Well, if you got so much to say, why don't you make a video, dummy?" And I said, "Oh yeah, that's good." And the more I made videos and the more I dug into the rabbit hole to kind of understand why they were saying what they were saying, I started seeing them as a bit of a threat, especially when, like, here in the United States, down in Texas, so about 10 years or so ago, they got creationism in the textbooks in the schools to be taught side by side with the theory of evolution in the science classes. And now they have something that they're looking at to potentially put flat Earth as a potential theory in textbooks. And I definitely see that as a threat, because it's like they're wanting us to raise an entire generation of morons. And I have issues with that.
In my day, education, your primary education, kindergarten through 12th grade, was taken very seriously. It was important. It mattered that you graduate from high school. And it seems like today that is not as important of a value. I mean, people certainly still want to do it, and the majority certainly do, but it doesn't seem to have the same internal valuation with people as it did then. There was disgrace if you failed a grade. There was disgrace if you dropped out of high school. And today, that just does not exist.
I'll have a little bit of contention there on that, because someone who, probably the most recent out of all of us who graduated high school, where I come from, it's kind of expected to graduate high school. Like, I went to a school where 94% of people graduated high school, and
Wow.
even like the surrounding schools, like most people graduated high school, and well over 50% of the people in my area went to college. It's kind of expected. It's expected to go to college of you, and if you don't, then you are highly looked down upon, at least around my area. And I know that's complete anecdotal, and that's completely my own experience, but that is how it is around where I live, at least. And I don't know how other people are, but I do have a
Well,
little
it's like that in my area too. We have a lot of colleges in my city, and we have a higher than average than the rest of the nation of postgraduate degrees per capita, you know. But
Yeah.
I do think nationwide within the United States that, you know, people are either dropping out of school or they're ill prepared for college, and you know, they go to 5 years of college instead of 4 because they're playing a year in catch up for stuff that they didn't learn in high school. You know, and I
Yeah.
hear a lot of college professors and instructors that are, you know, really frustrated with that.
Well, yeah, the 5 years in college, that is a really good gripe. And another thing to do with the colleges is the overall lacking quality in the degrees that they have. Not that the high degrees are getting lax in quality, but the introduction of so many different like nonsense degrees and everything like that. You have people who are going in with expectations of, if you get a college degree, you're going to come out making a lot of money. And the problem is that no one tells them which degrees are the ones that make all the money. So they go in and get the easiest one, and, well, you can't do anything with the easiest degree and everything like that. I see that a lot, even in my own field. Like, my degree, I do not have a high status degree. I'm a communications degree and everything like that. And the only reason why I'm able to do that is because I already have a couple of jobs lined up for when I get out. And I am seeing all these people who don't have jobs, who didn't do well in high school, who are only here because it's the easiest thing that they can possibly do, and their mom wants them there or something like that. And I mean, I just wonder how they put their pants on in the morning. And I don't want to sound like I feel like I'm smarter than everybody, because I'm not. I'm not even the smartest guy in my own classroom, but some of these people are really bad. And
Yeah.
I do know a couple of them who do believe these conspiracy theories. I know a professor I had to talk to, who believes we didn't land on the moon and believes that Bush did 9/11. So it's like,
Jeez.
like I talked with her, and she believed she clicked all the boxes except for flat Earth, because I didn't know about flat Earth at the time. I didn't talk to her about it, but yeah, she clicked all the boxes, and she's one of the in her field. She's one of the highest ranking professors in her field.
That amazes me. What do you, Kevin? Are you still here? What do you think about all this?
Yeah, that's amazing, Blue Earth thing. What you just said. That's my mind's still kind of dwelling on that. That all the boxes except flat Earth, and
Yeah.
only not flat Earth because you didn't ask her about it because you didn't know.
Yeah, I cannot wrap my head
frightening.
around a educated professional, you know, having that conspiracy mentality at all.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow.
Go ahead.
Sorry, if we had it set up, which we almost did, I was literally going to come into our classroom and explain to the classroom why we landed on the moon and how I can prove it. Because she's one of those people who likes to debate and stuff like that. So that's how we met, is through debate. But yeah, she believes the JFK, the moon landing, the 9/11, the government giving out drugs to inner city communities, like every single one that can possibly be there, and whether it's true or not, she'll check the box if the government is doing a conspiracy.
What for me, I keep highlighting and seeing that there's a lack of respect for education, even if somebody finishes just with a high school degree, that we don't respect what they've learned, and I think it trickles down into the younger ages and stuff, that people develop the attitude that, well, it's just not that real important. And you know, people used to say in mathematics and algebra, well, I'm never going to use that in real life, so I don't really have to learn that. But now you see people who, look, let me illustrate this way. We all know Jay Leno, And when he had his show, he used to go out and do that Jay Leno Ask Questions of people on the street.
Oh yeah.
I cannot believe how stupid some people are. That he asks them basic questions, even of today's information of who is the president, and the people cannot answer. And it's like, how did you finish school? How could you even hold a job with that lack of education or lack of retention? Maybe they did get it in school, but they didn't retain it. How can that be?
I
Was
think
it?
retention is a big thing there. Because
Yeah.
I swear, the more I look into Flat Earth, the more it starts to look like it's a grown-up version of the chess club versus the jocks. Like, it's these people who did horribly in school, and so somehow their psyche has turned that into, oh, education is just indoctrination. I didn't fail; they failed me.
Yeah, I've made that joke talking to Flurfs before about what is wrong with you. Did a science girl turn you down for the high school prom? Is that why you hate science? But I
Yeah,
think there's something to that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there may be. I think so.
it could
too.
be. It could also be. Sorry, Anthony. You can go.
Well, when I was younger, in high school and stuff, I mean, I'm all for higher education and everything, but then I'm also for people that deserve it or, have the smarts for it. As you said, you got some in college that can barely tie their shoelaces. And in my age, and younger, it was top of the class that were able to go to college. That was a privileged thing.
Yeah.
And now everybody can go. And I'm thinking, in some part, the amount of intelligence that's being thrown out here is starting to lack a bit.
Yeah, well, thank God it's not like that where I live, because the junior college here in our city actually, in some of their curriculums, will use master's level textbooks in their classes, which is why it's probably one of the most respected junior colleges in the country. Even Harvard and Yale will accept their credits.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. See, me personally, I don't necessarily think that college is the right choice for a lot of people. There's a lot of people who go to college and they shouldn't be there. They should be doing a trade school, or they should be doing or starting on a career and stuff like that. College is not for everybody. I know of a buddy right now who college is not for him, but he's kind of getting forced to do it via his parents and stuff like that and social pressures. But there's a lot.
Yeah, sure. The college isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
The world does need its truck drivers and its mechanics, and those are honorable professions. I used to be an over-the-road truck driver before I went to college and got my degree, and then worked in my profession that I retired from. And I earned a good, honorable living. But at the same time, I didn't decry what I had learned in high school and my first year of college before I dropped out and joined the Navy. I valued that education, and I couldn't wait to get back. And there was no way in hell was I going to say the Earth is flat.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll defend real quick, like the people that were on the people who just don't know everyday basic stuff and the things that we would consider would call someone smart, because there's many different kinds of smart too. Like I know people who don't know hardly anything when it comes to the topics that we would be interested in, but they're incredible geniuses in other places, and they don't know everyday stuff, but they're incredible geniuses other places. So I don't really think that there's a standard on what you can consider smart, although like obviously there are people who are smarter than others and stuff like that, but I don't really think there's that standard of, oh, if you know these things, you're smarter than this person and stuff like that. And yeah.
Well, but I think there is a standard of, these are the basics that you need to be a productive member of society.
That is true. Yes. Yeah. That is absolutely true.
And I had a colleague of mine a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, had mentioned to me that everybody believes in a conspiracy. No matter how minor, we all believe in at least one. And I was racking my brains as to what I might believe in that way. And when I mentioned that on a Discord chat with Jen Morgan, then we got into a real interesting conversation. Because you want to tell everybody a little bit about that, there, Jen?
Well, I don't remember the conversation in great detail. So we'll just kind of start it anew here. The the whole idea of a conspiracy theory is just beyond my personal way of thinking. I was raised in an educational system that taught us critical thinking, that taught us to not disbelieve everything out of hand, but to check up on your sources before you believe everything.
Right.
And when your sources are things like NASA, are things like Harvard, are things like Cambridge in England, or the entire European Union, these are respected bodies that if they are saying something, I'm going to believe it. I'm not going to believe it out of hand, but I'm not going to discount it in any way just because it was brought to me by an authority. I was a hippie. I thrived on the concept of question authority. Don't trust the government. And there's a bunch of stuff that stands behind that makes me think that maybe I shouldn't trust the government. The CIA really did do some terrible things with drugs and stuff in Southeast Asia. I know because I know some of the people who actually did it. But that doesn't mean that everything the government says is a bullshit or should be disbelieved. Um, and this is what could easily lead up to like global warming issues and that sort of thing. But conspiracy theories are the playground of the simple-minded, as far as I'm concerned. And even if an educated person falls into it, there's something about their critical thinking skills that lives on the playground of simple-mindedness.
Yeah.
Not, I don't know. What do you think?
Yep. Yeah. You kind of nail that on the head. Antiflatter, Anthony, I haven't heard from you guys for a little bit. What do you think about all this? Is there any conspiracy theory that you might subscribe to, even if it's a minor little thing? Or is my colleague way off base?
The only conspiracy theory that I subscribe to is it's the worms.
The
The worms are
worms?
just causing everything. Yep. Because if all humans die, it's a worm fest.
Oh. I was wondering where you were going with that. It's like, you had me scared there for a minute.
Really hoping one of my favorite video games had a conspiracy theory behind them.
Oh,
See,
yeah?
I disagree. I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
No, Blue Earth just threw something out about a conspiracy theory being in a video game.
No, Worms. It's
I
not
got
a
it.
video game.
Oh, Worms. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I
it's a
remember
video
that
game. I was
one.
like, oh, I thought I was kind of excited to hear a conspiracy theory about one of my favorite video games.
Oh, I see.
And if you've played that game, that's a hilarious implication that there's a conspiracy theory surrounding worms.
Yeah.
See, what I was going to say is that it's not the worms. The largest organism on Earth is a fungi that lives underground below trees and is 28 miles in size.
Yeah, isn't that a truffle?
Um, no, it's just a mushroom. I guess it's parts of it are in northern Wisconsin and Minnesota and other places, but it's really big, and I think it's in control of everything.
And that is one magic
It
mushroom.
raises us to feed itself later on.
Yeah, going John a magic mushroom. Well, part of where that conversation went the other night was that you had a thought about UFOs.
Okay, I'm a fairly intelligent person, I believe, and I do not believe in any conspiracies, and I don't think UFOs are a conspiracy per se, but I think they exist. Do I believe that every UFO report that's ever come in from somebody who's been abducted, who doesn't seem to be able to spell their name, is true? No, I absolutely do not. Most of them are bunk. But if you, in the strictest definition of the expression UFO, unidentified flying object, or the modern nomenclature we use now is unidentified aerial phenomenon. There are absolutely things that are going on that we cannot identify, that we do not understand. And so, yes, there are unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Or at least that whatever they are telling us about them, so the general public might not know everything, but maybe some other government agencies do know a little more than what they're letting us for whatever reason. I can believe that, but at the same time, having been former military, I can understand why the government, may not want to tell the general public certain things.
Can I jump in on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I've had this thought recently, because a couple of people have had to say it on streams, especially when we're dealing directly with flat earthers. They have this idea that we think conspiracies don't exist, that conspiracies aren't real, or that everything the government tells us is true. No, we don't believe any of that. Governments lie. I mean, that's a fact.
Yep.
Solid.
Absolutely.
There are governments that lie, and there are things they will lie about. And even NASA, I'm willing to say that has NASA lied to us about something? Maybe, but all I care about is whether or not they're lying to us about space.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, true. And before we get into the whole UFO thing with our videos, I wanted to go ahead and go around the table and let everybody kind of, put their final 2 cents worth in on this part of the topic. So don't everybody jump in at once.
Hey, Jen.
Anthony?
Yeah.
Bob Lazar, yay or nay?
That's a real tough one. For those who don't know, Bob Lazar was a person who back in the 80s came out right into the main conspiracy network of UFOs and claimed to be a person who worked at Area 51 and had contact with supposed equipment that the government has in their possession that they were trying to reverse engineer to gain knowledge from alien technology. Now, he actually ended up going underground because of threats on his life and things that, by the way, were validated, that they really happened. It was also validated that, yes, he really did work at Area 51 and that he's a real person and all that stuff. So, do I believe that Bob Lazar really worked at Area 51? Yeah, I do. But without knowing what they actually do at Area 51, I don't know what he was involved in. He could be making up a big story.
Yeah, I have kind of the jury is out for me on him. I know he worked at Area 51. I know there was threats on his life. I don't know where those threats were coming from, whether they were somebody in the general public or government agency. And we may never know at this point, but I do think I have to call bullshit on reverse engineering the alien technology.
Yeah. When I watched that, the reason why I asked is I watched that documentary on him recently, and I played a little bit of armchair psychologist when they asked him straight up, like, did this happen or are you all lying? And his defense caught something to me. His defense wasn't, here's the evidence as to why I'm not lying, but it was, me, like, you guys have all seen me. Why would I ever make it up? I'm not lying and stuff like that. You know me, and that's just, to me, it's kind of
that's indicative of a liar to
yeah.
say, please believe my truth. Like, if they keep talking about the truth that they're speaking, you start to question it.
However,
like, other than that one slip up, he's pretty darn convincing in what he says and everything like that.
Right.
However, would you not expect that somebody who was in it lying, trying to create some hubbub around himself, would be in it for the money, as we usually think about conspiracy people in the center of the conspiracy? And he didn't. He went into hiding, and he avoided publicity. And
It isn't
So-
always about the money so much as it sometimes for some people it's just about the notoriety. You
Mhm.
know, the desire to be different or special, you
Sure,
know.
sure. But as somebody who avoided that, to me, that adds to his credibility. Although, again, for my
Yeah.
personal beliefs, I don't know how far his story really goes. I do believe that he worked at
Yeah.
Area 51, though.
And
Yeah.
from my point of view, I can't, without hours of talking to him one on one and offering him a battery of tests and examining those tests, I can't speak to his mental stability at all. You know, but I
Exactly.
do have to question it, you know.
Now, if you want to talk about credibility in terms of UFOs, um, for me, the only people that have any credibility with it are trained professionals, um,
Absolutely.
who have either witnessed something or say that they have information that we don't have access to. La la
Yeah.
la la.
And by
And though
professionals, yeah, I'm assuming you mean pilots, aerospace engineers, and that
either
sort of thing, right?
either commercial or military, and there are absolutely um, people who were legitimately known to work for the military or commercial that have made reports.
Yeah, we'll get into a little bit of that with the videos as well.
So
I'm sorry, was that flutter breaking up a little bit?
No, not me.
Okay, so flatter, and
And
Well,
not with the conspiracy thing. I mean, I don't subscribe to any conspiracy, I don't think. I mean, shit, I may without knowing it, but not consciously anyway.
oh, okay. What about you, Anthony?
Well, about a government lying, well, of course I do agree with that because everybody doesn't have to know everything because it has no impact on your daily life.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
what a
And
military does in some things, we don't need to know that, not really.
yeah,
In fact,
um,
to be honest, it can be quite dangerous if the general public did know
Yeah,
some things that the
that's
military are up to.
that's
And
yes,
that's
I mean,
true.
you've got special forces out there doing things that, if everyone knew about, their lives are in danger. To keep that quiet to save those soldiers' lives.
yes, that's absolutely true. And Teddy Boggle, Robert Leger, as our chief mods, is there anything interesting going on in the chat that we need to know about, or you want to point out to us? No? Okay. We'll ask again here in a little bit, and if anything does pop up, feel free to point it out to us. Tom, why don't we take a look at our first video? This is an ABC News report from American News Television about pilots, military pilots that were filming UFOs.
can I brief people before you show this?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
And again, for those who may not have caught these stories or done any looking around for them, um, there was a series of reports that were filed by naval F-18 pilots, long-term combat pilots who were also instructors in jet aircraft aviation, um, and it was filmed with their highly sophisticated and very current technology uh, cameras and sensors, forward looking infrared sensors in cameras, as well as visible light imagery. The videos that we get to see are only a portion of what was recorded, and this is according to those pilots, and that the resolution that we get to see is nowhere near what was actually shot at. And the details tell much more of the story, but like I said, that hasn't been released to the public.
Yes.
But these films were released by the Navy. These did not come from some strange UFO conspiracy source of some sort. This came from
Yeah.
your government.
Yeah, so it's fair to point out that these came from credible witnesses who are highly trained in their fields, and it's from a credible news agency who is well respected in investigative journalism. Thomas, are you here? Are you with us?
I am indeed. Yes, yes.
Yeah, you
We
want to go
have
ahead and show the audience
well,
what we're talking about?
we have dead.
Before Yeah, before we get into that, I think I am going to duck out here before we get started. But this does sound interesting. I wonder. I'm thinking it might be related to. There's been some things in the news recently about how the Pentagon, basically recently admitted to the public, yeah, we take UFO reports seriously, and a lot of people were just like, well, yeah, of course you do. It's called air traffic control, um, and I'm willing to bet when it comes to UFOs, my mind usually leans more towards it's not likely aliens, it's more likely military. It's more likely related to secret military projects more than anything else. And
Yep.
I think it's no coincidence that there's more UFO sightings around Area 51, a secret military base.
Yeah, absolutely.
However, the sightings that we're going to see here on this were taken out over the ocean.
Right.
Interesting.
So,
But there's definitely going to be some stimulating conversation here. I mean, I can tell from what I've heard already, and like I said, I'm gonna mirror this once the stream's over and add a little bit more. But for now, I am gonna duck out. But I do want to thank everyone for having me here, and congratulate Logical again, 525-ish subs. Fantastic.
Yeah, thanks.
More.
Thanks a lot for sticking it out as long as you did there, Kevin. We appreciate your input.
Not a problem at all. I'm sure I'll be back on this channel at some point, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Feel better, Kevin,
Yeah.
and stop eating Taco Bell.
Yes. Yeah. Get well, buddy. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right. Bye.
I will see ya.
Good job, man.
Logical. Before you continue, we have Jim Bojo in the chat, and I'm sure we could pull him in quick as a replacement for Kevin if you would like.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Okay, I'll do that in 1 second. You guys take the show. Sorry to interrupt there.
So, anyway, while we're waiting on Tom to throw up the video and throw Jim Bojo a link, anybody got anything on their mind thus far? And crickets.
When it comes to conspiracy theories, there's one that I pretty much fully believe. NASCAR has totally rigged races. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I think that too.
Yep, they've totally rigged races. There's a couple that are kind of fishy on how perfect of a story they made.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I got a problem with a sport that, their steering wheels can only turn left. I mean, come on.
Hey,
I know they can
man.
turn right.
Listen, hey, they have 2 road courses per year. I will defend stock car oval racing to the end, man. That is my life. But no, when it comes to racing, it's the pack. The pack is what's the cool part, not the track.
Yeah, I suppose so. And their English has improved in NASCAR as well. It used to be they would talk real fast in that real thick Southern drawl, and you couldn't understand a damn word they said. These men today are actually pretty articulate. I got to hand it to them.
Well, they started letting people who were born above the Mason-Dixon line into the sport. And if you can tell, like, the degree of the sport has gone down a little bit. But, sorry.
They started making
Okay. We're going to go there now.
Let's remember that they
Southern,
started,
not English.
they started changing all them rules when the Northern boys started winning.
That's exactly what's starting to happen.
Sick 'em, Jen.
Hey, I'm with Bionic Davros. The V8 supercars are much better.
Yeah.
Cool.
Can't beat watching that panorama.
Demonic Davros is in the chat. I am sorry. I have not been watching the chat room at all. And I wanted to point out to everybody, Demonic was my very first sub. So thank you very much, Demonic Davros, for helping get this channel started, man.
Hey, congratulations. Also, Jim Bojo hopped in.
Hey, Jimbo Joe.
Certainly did. Hello, everybody. How you all doing?
Good morning.
Hello,
to you.
Troglodyte. Congratulations on breaking 500, man. Well done. That's been. You went from what, like 492 straight up to 525. That's incredible, man. That's so good.
Yeah, actually, while the shills was on and you guys were shilling the crap out of this live stream, Casual Spaceman jumped out of the chat for a while and went and made a video to post to tell everybody to come sub for me. So that was very cool and surprising. I didn't know he was doing that.
Wow, that's awesome, man. It's so cool. Casual Spaceman's been a real friend of the Shills show lately, actually. That was a very cool thing for him to do.
Yeah, he's a cool cat.
Yeah, man.
But anyway, now that you're here and you've been watching, the show up to this point, you already know what's going on. Tom, you want to play that news report for us?
Yeah, I'm ready to go here. No problem. Let's.
All right, let's start with that.
All right, let's cue it up. Here we go, and enjoy.
Can I talk over this?
Yeah, if you want to, and he can pause at any time.
Yeah, talk if you want to talk. If you want to talk, and call pause when you want to pause.
Okay.
New reports, five pilots coming forward over the weekend saying they've had multiple mid-air encounters with high-flying, fast-moving objects. ABC's Gio Benitez at the Hudson River right here in New York with more. Gio, the Navy is now investigating?
They are, Cecilia. Yeah, a lot of these UFOs have been captured on video. Some of them over water, and now at least one pilot says he saw them daily. New reporting this morning on unidentified flying objects in our airspace. The New York Times speaking with five Navy pilots who've all said they've encountered UFOs during training missions up and down the East Coast. The pilots even noting that the objects were accelerating to hypersonic speed, making sudden stops and instantaneous turns, something beyond the physical limits of a human crew.
Clearly there's nothing that we're
Now, go ahead and pause that there, Tom.
Hey, chat's saying the video we're echoing.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure where that's coming from. I'll let Tom sort that out. But I did want to point out that, the difference between the ancient aliens that we saw on the shill tonight and this reporting isn't setting you up to believe anything other than these pilots saw something that they can't explain. It isn't jumping to any conclusions, and I really got to applaud that sort of reporting.
Yeah.
Now, in this films that you've been playing, when you see the craft in the sky looks all dark and black, that's when the camera is set to its infrared imaging, and then it switches back to a bright sky. That's when they switch to visual wavelength imaging. So that's what that's all about. But when you continue to play it, I believe that this is also going to show the rotation that this craft does. And you stop and think for a moment, what craft anywhere, anytime that you've ever seen can do that? You just wait till you see it.
My
I got a
quadcopter can do
response
that.
lined up, by the way, when this ends. So.
Yeah. If anybody's got anything to add, speak now, or we'll go ahead and crack on. Okay, Tom, go ahead and crack on.
I'm saying that there is an unidentified object in our working space, and we don't know what to do.
This on the eve of a new History Channel series called Unidentified: Inside America's UFO Investigation.
The object then appears to accelerate rapidly.
The show chronicles a year-long investigation that includes former military intelligence officials speaking out on numerous reported encounters.
We trust the American people to know that there are certain countries that have nuclear warheads, and yet we don't trust the American people to know that there's something in our airspace that we don't know what it is.
Overnight, the Navy telling us that in recent years, there's been a number of reports of unauthorized and/or unidentified aircraft in our airspace, and therefore they've implemented new steps to.
That guy who was just speaking with the goatee, that guy's name is Luis Elizondo. I think I got that right. You might have heard in the news that the Pentagon admitted that there's been this program running that's spending $20 million in UFO research. This is the guy who used to run that program.
Right.
This is not just some schlep off the street who's a conspiracy buff. This was the guy who had top secret clearance in the Pentagon. And he walked away from the job, and now he's working with an organization whose sole purpose is to get the word out.
Yeah, but I do have to, like I said, having been former military, take a little umbrage with what he just said. Excuse me. It is, yes, it's one thing to let the public know what other countries' military capabilities are. It's a whole nother animal to tell the public that those same countries might be flying over our airspace. You know, can you imagine the mass panic, you know, involved when that's only a possible maybe?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If I may interject with the point, it's just that what we're watching in terms of this video at the moment, there's a certain amount of sort of extra corroborative evidence that you'd want to have, because essentially the things that they're sort of writing on the screen, the things that have been reported, are actually fairly innocuous phrases. If you look at them, they're
Yeah.
sort of describing things that are unidentified,
Mhm.
right? And then the video that you're seeing are the people at these conferences who are talking about things, you know, that are a little bit more complicated in the way that they're being described, and there's a certain disparity there. And the thing is, I'm trying to work out what the best way is to get some sort of confirmation on this. I mean, I know that there are UFOs. I'm also certain that every military in the world sees hundreds of them every year. What I really want to see is slightly more than a half-second grainy image of a black spot disappearing quite quickly to one side of the camera, because there are explanations for how that sort of thing can happen.
And I actually have a pretty darn convincing one as to what that is and everything like that. And I want to explain that when the video's over.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Anthony, you got anything to add? Anthony,
At the
did you
moment,
follow up?
no, I'm still here. At the moment, no.
Okay. What about you, Flatter?
Well, I'll reiterate what you said about how the reporting goes. You're right. It's one thing. I mean, if you listen to the two sentences, unidentified objects near the east coast of America versus Navy spots Russian aircraft approaching east coast of America.
Yes.
Instantly, you start thinking Russia's a threat. Whereas if you say unidentified, it's, oh, what was that? Could be anything.
Exactly. But the conspiracy theorists will still jump right past the potential Russian, Chinese, potential aircraft and go right to aliens, which I find fascinating that a mind can actually do that, you know.
Yeah. Particularly with the capability of things. Yeah, you've got rockets that can accelerate incredibly quickly, brake incredibly quickly, and readjust the trajectories. So
absolutely.
I'm not saying
if you a quick look at humans,
it's a possibility.
Is that what y'all use down at the South Pole?
It's what the penguins are equipped with.
Yeah, right.
The penguins are awesome.
See, for me, it's
got to defend against the flapper donkey somehow.
Yes. Well, you know, but the penguins aren't really any threat unless they have orders from the queen, you see.
Quite.
You know. So anyway,
Trugs, I have to agree with you that that this kind of stuff, this is interesting to watch, and yeah, I believe that these pilots saw what they saw, and that they don't know what they saw, and it is the lunacy of people to jump into the automatic assumption that this means there's aliens, which I reject. It's always been my feeling of why would they pick us to look at? You know, with all the options out there in the galaxy, why would they pick us?
In defense of that, if we were the only thing in vicinity, I mean, look how hard it's been for us to spot what's it called, the Fermi paradox. Why, you know, if life is common, why the hell don't we see it, right? So it does look to us currently like there's not much out there. Now, there almost certainly is. The numbers, you know, essentially suggest it, but we can't see it yet. So if our nearest neighbor is, you know, the only other living intelligent creature in this galaxy, and they're ahead of us in the game, maybe they would want to observe us on the grounds that, well, wouldn't we? I mean, it would be a fantastic scientific enterprise. And if you could hide yourself in the atmosphere in clever craft that can evade detection, that all makes sense. The problem is, you know, this is that problem about sure, it's sufficient, but is it necessary to explain the phenomena that we've seen, right?
Well, I guess that all depends on how far you want to carry it. You know, the current thrust at the conspiracy neighborhood is that they want to combine this that you've just seen with alleged reports of UFOs over nuclear launch sites, and go so far as to say that the launch sites have been turned off and on and back on by alien craft, Well, really?
Yeah, right. I'd love to see that demonstrated, right? Wow.
And that's the leap into incredulity. That the conspiracy folks make. But to tie this all back into what we've been talking about, for me, it's the ignorance of the importance of education and people letting go on what they learned that allows this crap to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Tom, how much time we got left on this particular video?
I'm not actually sure. It doesn't really tell me, to be honest, the way I've got it hooked up.
Okay,
The whole thing was only a couple of minutes.
Yeah, let's go ahead and crack on with it and get through that, because the second video then speaks to a bit about what we've just been talking about.
Yeah, and I want to get, whenever we finish, I want to get to where I can explain exactly what we're seeing and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Further possible incident. And listen, nobody at the Department of Defense is saying these are extraterrestrial. In fact, they say that there could be earthly explanations for all of this, but a lot of people are left wondering, guys.
I like how you did the air quotes. Earthly explanations. We'll see. All right, more investigating needed. Thank you, Gio.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos. Thanks for checking out the NC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch.
I was so happy with that report. And then he just had to do that. And I know it was a joke. I know he was being tongue-in-cheek, but how many conspiracy theorists are going to watch that and say, oh.
Right.
Yeah.
They'll latch right onto that. It's just a nightmare. Anything, irony or not, they will just take verbatim out truth. It's just,
I like when the Twitter think they're being clever. But no, I think I have a pretty darn convincing explanation of what that is, and I actually had this conversation very recently while I was in LA. This exact video he showed me, and I pretty much convinced him of what it was, and I'm using Metabunk as my source with Mick West, and I actually posted the link in the chat that we're all in on Discord. But what we're looking at is a jet airplane from far away. And the reason why it rotates is not because the actual plane itself is rotating, but because that we are on a gimbal. The camera itself is on a gimbal, and when it rotates, it will make that a little glow rotate too. And if you were to go to the link that I provided, and I'll post it in the chat alongside, it's fairly convincing as to it's just a jet airplane. That's all it is.
And people got to remember too that they tend to think that multiple things aren't happening at the same time. You've got two objects in the air flying at high speed, making maneuvers, and then you've got the gimbal of the cameras and everything. So yeah, it's going to skew what we would normally see just standing on the ground.
Absolutely. You've got all these multiple moving frames of reference, quite apart from the fact that you've got this problem, which is that you've got the camera is looking at something very distant, and there's only a certain number of pixels which can see the image. And so you're sitting there, craning forward, squinting your eyes, trying to get more detail, and all you're really achieving is triggering the part of the brain which achieves pareidolia. It's the smudge, and it suddenly moves quickly. You've got to use some pretty clever tools to really work out what's going on, sort of staring at the image until you can convince yourself it's a UFO, which is basically the methodology for most of these people. Doesn't really work very effectively.
Now, to a certain extent, I can understand the conspiracy theories here at this point, because let's face it, our brains did not evolve flying. We evolved from an on-the-ground frame of reference. So it takes some imagination and it takes some education to understand what you're seeing when you have multiple moving frames of reference. And unfortunately, conspiracy theorists don't have that ability because they lack the education.
Or possibly the understanding. Sometimes they've had the education and it's had no effect, because I genuinely think that there are certain sort of correlations between a lack of spatial reasoning and flurfery, right? There is this inability to have sort of mental geometry in your head.
Yes.
But doesn't
See what I mean? I think that same thing links elsewhere. Sorry, John.
That's okay. Doesn't it whet your appetite, though, to want to see the rest of the video if they haven't released?
Oh yes, most certainly. I would love to see the higher resolution stuff,
And just by their act of withholding they make the conspiracy worse.
Yeah,
Well,
to a certain extent.
What did they withhold, though?
That's what we don't know.
If the Navy released this video, as soon as there was any question about it, it's like with this particular thing, I don't see anything that they withheld. And when it comes to cameras and stuff like that, this is possibly the highest resolution they have, because I mean, it looks like it's fairly far away. It's fairly zoomed in, and when it's on a training mission like what this most likely was on, there's really not that need for that super high resolution camera on a fighter pilot.
Sure.
Well, I have watched
I mean-
interviews with the pilot that shot this, and he does say that the resolution that we see here is very, very poor compared to the original resolution of what was shot.
Well, is that because they're focusing on a small area where the dot is, though, and most of the image would be blue sky and canopy?
Well, actually, it appeared to be a cloudy sky to me.
Well, you know, what I mean is
Yeah.
like most of the frame is being taken up by the backdrop, and there's only a tiny
Well,
amount with that
that's
little
absolutely
UFO on. So the real original shot, yeah, much higher resolution, but also you get a much tinier view of the UFO.
Hey Thomas, is there any way I can share my screen at all?
Yeah, let me look into it 1 second here, okay? Hold on.
Yeah, because
I'm thinking, yeah, go ahead.
Or if at least I can't share my screen, if you could click on that link in the Discord that I posted.
Well, while they're doing that, I want to give a shout out. I just got an alert here on my phone. New subscriber, a viewer by the name of Doc Fearsome, subscribed to this channel. Thank you very much, Doc. I appreciate that.
And what a great name, Doc Fearsome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's a good name.
I'm going to have to go check out his channel and see if he's getting any content, because if he does with a name like that, it's got to be something.
He's a good guy.
Oh, nice. Cool. You know him.
I've run into a few times on other channels and that sort of thing.
Ah,
He seems to be
excellent.
well put together.
Yeah.
Well,
I really
Doc,
wish
I
I
have
knew
one
who.
In the next videos that Logical is gonna show, it shows the kind of things that, again, the conspiracy artists ignore, either willfully or otherwise, and don't share with their followers. That again helps to boost the conspiracy, to help keep the woo in it.
Right.
And this next video shows a good piece of what is
Oh, yeah.
what is possible that is not being shown.
I mean, we can't let a few tidbits of verifiable fact get in the way of a good conspiracy. So, yeah, we're not going to let you examine all the evidence if you're part of that kind of a channel, you know?
Yeah. I do love the cherry picking. It's such great fun.
Yes. You know,
Yep. Blue.
I really.
Blue, if you share your screen in the meet, I can pull it up now for you.
All right, cool. Let me.
That.
What I did.
He's so good at that.
I'm thinking, listen to the pilots. How do they sound? Do they sound like they're in danger, or do they sound more curious, like two kids lighting a firecracker?
Yeah, they seemed really relaxed and really like they were having fun with it, you know, on the other reports that I watched where they were being interviewed.
What's going on? It says I'm presenting. Am I presenting?
I can
You
see
are
it.
presenting.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. What are y'all looking at? Because I can't.
I
see.
am looking at the underside of a plane's camera.
Got it. All right, here we go. So this is the start of the page. This is made by Mick West on MetaBunk. It's a great resource. If you've never used it, I think it's a great resource for us debunkers to use.
Oh, yeah.
So what we have on the left is, or what we have on the right here, that is on above the word gimbal. That is the video that we just saw. The one on the other is the IR glare. That's a different video. And in the middle, we have a jet engine, or we have twin jet engines on a Russian aircraft. So I think this is in itself a fairly good representation of what we're seeing. If we were to scroll down a little bit, here's a video he has. I don't want to play it because of we don't want to watch a whole nother video right now, but here's a still from the video we just watched. And Mick's just saying he's trying to figure out what it is. It could be the rotating infrared glare from this rotating gimbal right here. So this gimbal, when it rotates, obviously it will rotate the camera, it will rotate what we're viewing and everything like that. And here's a good GIF demonstration of the rotation of the gimbal with the airplane and what we're seeing in the video we just watched.
Look at that. It really is. That's remarkable. On the left, particularly, that is a classic 1950s flying saucer as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks, to the untrained eye, it looks exactly like a flying saucer. Even on the bottom, it looks like the bottom, it perpetrates more than the top, which will be and it's
It doesn't look like a flying saucer to me. I can clearly see the wing and tail sections. To me, it looks more like a hornet, maybe.
Yeah, maybe I see what you mean. Some insect close to the camera, which would explain why people say, "Oh, it's just a fly." Or
No,
like
a
that.
hornet is a type of aircraft.
Oh, you mean the plane? Oh, see, you should have said you're giving it the number registration at the beginning as well. See?
Yeah, I know the F-18 is what I'm talking about.
Right. Well, you see, do you see how on the picture on the right you can see the wing and you can see the mountings for essentially weapons pylons and fuel pylons, things like that? Right? I think the one on the left, it's much easier to see how you could just focus on the black smudge in the middle and not really see the rest of the plane. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
it's very easy how someone can mistake this as a UFO or something that's unidentified when it's been so heavily altered from what it originally is, if that makes sense.
And so you're suggesting that because of the Riley effect, that the two engines become one because it's so far away.
Right.
Yes.
Distance to target.
Yeah, basically that's what I think it is, because the image on the right, you can see how well resolution that is. That's obviously a much closer airplane than the one on the left. And even right here on the one on the right, you can see where the two black dots merge in the middle.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to put a link to Mick West's channel in the chat, feel free. Like Blue said, he's a great resource. I haven't watched him lately, but I have watched him in the past, and he's very, very good.
And he has a great podcast with Joe Rogan.
And that's the same Mick West that does the Earth curve calculator.
Yes,
correct?
that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he has a book that I want to read called it's like Out of the Rabbit Hole or something, Escaping the Rabbit Hole. I want to read it one day, but if I ever find time and if I ever learn how to read.
Well, that's a real good lead into the next video, hey?
Yeah, let's go ahead and start looking at that a little bit, unless anybody's got anything to say, like our quiet members here, like Anthony and Flatter.
No. Everything was said quite nicely.
Okay. Anthony, you still awake?
Yeah.
Okay. Feel free to jump in, man. You don't have to wait until I call on you. You don't have to be polite on my channel. Just get in there and say, dude, I got this to say.
Dig in.
I've been sitting here the whole time with my hand up, but no one's seen me.
Yeah.
I know I talk a lot, but if I ever start talking too much, tell me to shut up and mute myself.
Oh no, you've been great, Blue. Thanks. So anyway, okay, going once, Anthony. Go ahead.
I just don't want to step on anybody.
We're not going to take offense. It's okay. We love you. What do you got to say?
Oh, nothing. I was going with Blue Earth thing about the video. I mean, there's so much that you have to look at and hear. It's not just seeing, but hearing also. In the video, they show the horizon line, right? That's the horizon line is actually the opposite direction of what the jet is turning, right? Because the horizon is steeply right.
Right.
That means the jet is turning left and following the target. And like I said, there's just so much that you have to pay attention to.
I think that's a really good point, actually, because what I was saying about the moving reference frames. If you think, on the one hand, you've got the camera plane, which is banking one direction, so it's rotating, okay, and its IR camera is pointed in the right direction to have the UFO in shot. Now, if the camera has to rotate in the opposite direction than that which the plane is traveling, and it doesn't keep the object it's focusing on perfectly in the center of frame, there is going to be that kind of jitter. Anyone who's ever used a telescope will know that as they're tracking it automatically, there's a certain amount of jogging back and forth as the sort of computer system tries to keep up. My suspicion is that is what we're seeing.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a look at the second video, Tom.
Alrighty, let's kick it.
See, before you jump in.
Yeah, go ahead, Teddy. What you got?
Sorry. And first off, apologies for earlier on. I double muted myself. Just a couple of things from the chat. Couple of observations. One from Purple Rhymes with Orange was also when we were talking about Antarctica earlier on, was saying that penguins are going extinct because the military is using them for rocket fuel.
That's great.
I thought it was rather a good one. Get Banzo Bandit stating quite an interesting one as well, which is it wouldn't be a conspiracy if the government wasn't involved.
I think he's being tongue in cheek. You know, I love Bandsaw Bandit. Me and Tom got to know him in Crash's RC Builds late night vampire chat, and he's a lot of fun to talk to. So definitely get to know Bandsaw Bandit.
For a flat earther,
definitely do that.
Well, he's not really a flat earther. He's a seeker. I will call him, and I've had some interesting discussions with him, and it was always fun.
I know Ben, so he's a real good guy. He's fun to get to know.
Oh yeah, he's great.
I'm just teasing him.
The next time I do one of these, I think I'm going to ask him to see if he wants to come on. Yes, he is always a good time.
But he is pretty pushy. That's an inside joke.
Yeah. Oh, and Terry Davies just popped in the chat. Hi, Terry. Glad you're here, buddy.
Hey.
And so, yeah, let's go ahead and start with that other video.
Number 10. The V-173. If I was outside and saw this aircraft, I'm pretty sure I would have thought it was a UFO. The V-173, or the Flying Pancake, was an experimental World War II test aircraft built by the United States as part of a Navy fighter aircraft program. It had an almost circular, all-wing design. The project was initiated in 1939 and tested by the chief flight test pilot on November 23, 1942. Evaluation of the V-173 carried out throughout 1942 and 1943. A total of 190 flights were undertaken, prompting numerous UFO reports from worried Connecticut residents. The final test flight took place in 1947. Overall, the project contributed greatly to understanding of aerodynamics and the possibility of near vertical takeoffs. Number 9.
Go ahead and pause that right there. That that is an interesting little plane, and I can see why someone seeing that from a distance might think flying saucer.
Absolutely.
It looks exactly like a flying saucer.
Yeah,
That's like ugliest
except for the
design
props.
plane ever.
I would love to build one of those in scale for RC.
They are famously dangerous. One of the things he said there was about how, they learned a lot about aerodynamics, and one of the things they learned was not to do it like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed how big the propellers were, and that caused a lot of problems with torque. And also, when it lands, it's pointing like 30 degrees up in the sky. The pilot can barely see a damn thing. He's got this big canopy and has to look down. It's very, very weird craft to try and fly, apparently.
Yeah. And of course, they didn't have jet engines in those days. And that's really what's required to have that sort of thing to fly. Because, with enough thrust, a brick can fly.
Yeah, quite. Well, the thing is, it's funny you should mention jet engines, because when jet aircraft first appear in the UK, people reported UFOs all the time because they were saying, I saw an aeroplane without a propeller, and everyone thought they were mental, basically, and that they were like declaring some sort of alien.
Well,
and
experimental aircraft do this a lot.
Yeah,
I don't know if Logical's not old enough, but I can remember when you never saw a jet up in the air because everything was still propeller driven.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm old.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I was born in the mid '60s. So yeah, at that time there was a mixture of jet and prop.
There's a cool story about the first jet airplane built in the United States, and it was actually tested out in the deserts by Area 51 and stuff like that. But when they brought it out to the test site, they had to put a wooden propeller on it, a fake propeller, to transport it around, and to fool everybody, even in the military, that it was not a jet airplane.
Yeah.
Even if it got out to even the people working on the airplane and transporting the airplane, to that the Americans had a jet, that was top secret information. So they put a fake propeller, and they only took it off right before they went up in the air with it. And then they put it right back on as soon as they landed.
Crazy.
Trog, I would really like to get to some of the later craft that were shown in that video that are things that even us as science fans here maybe have never seen. Some of these military unmanned vehicles are pretty amazing.
Yeah, this is like a 10-minute video. I don't know if we'll get through the whole thing on this tonight, but we'll definitely take a look at a couple of more of this before we move on. And I know I was telling everybody, probably 60 to 90 minutes on the stream, but I didn't expect it to be as many people in the audience or to have as lively as a discussion. So, hey, if we go a little later, we go a little later, right?
Hey, I'm here till 6 a.m., man. Let's go.
Okay. Let's show another plane there, Tom.
17A Nighthawk. This is probably one of the most iconic, thought to be unidentified flying objects of the 80s. I mean, just look at her. Who wouldn't think this strange-looking triangular aircraft was anything other than that? This long-range stealth fighter, which could stay aloft indefinitely thanks to mid-air refueling, remained classified through much of the 1980s during test flights just outside of the legendary Area 51 Groom Lake facility. Along with the B-2 Spirit, the bat-like F-117A was a perfect candidate for triangular UFO sightings. Number 8.
Beautiful aircraft.
Okay, now look at this next vehicle is particularly impressive when you consider the age that it was built in. It's from World War II, Nazi Germany, and it's what eventually became the technology that we have today.
Yeah, the Germans of the 30s and 40s, were well ahead in engineering of the rest of the world. Their scientists were amazing.
Oh yeah, they brought jet engine aircraft into the war. While it took everyone else years after the war to get them developed, they had the ME-262, and they were really miles ahead of the game.
I mean, they had the B-2 rocket. I mean,
if it wasn't for German scientists, we would not have landed on the moon.
Yeah, but real quick about the Blackbird, I used to have a poster that on my wall when I was a little kid. That's one of my all-time favorite airplanes.
Oh, the SR-71? Yeah.
No, that's an F-117A Nighthawk. That's the Blackbird.
Sorry, I don't know why I said that. But yeah, the plane they just showed, that's one of my favorite airplanes. The Blackbird is also one of my favorites. I saw one of those in Houston.
Yeah. All right, let's go see what the next one's all about.
HO-229 Flying Wing. We couldn't have this video without one of the first single-wing aircraft ever. This aircraft, I'm sure, confused even the most skilled pilots of its time. Unfortunately, there aren't many images available. During the height of World War II, German forces wanted to design and build a fighter bomber capable of carrying over 2,000 pounds of explosives to targets 600 miles away from their bases at a speed of over 600 miles per hour. The HO-229 was the only plane that came close to the specifications set by the German military. Powered by two Jumo 004C engines, and with a flying wing configuration, it was effectively the first stealth aircraft to be invented. The plane never made it into full combat before the Allies forced Germany to surrender after the fall of Berlin. The designs, however, were smuggled back to America as part of Operation Paperclip. Number 7. The X-4.
Something just to note about that Horton, another plane I would love to build for an RC model. The Germans also had on the drawing boards a 6-engine version of that was going to be a long-range bomber to target New York.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a good thing the war ended when it did.
Yes, it is.
You know,
Yeah, you're right about that.
we may have a totally different system in the world today otherwise.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, the Nazis were going for broke in the very end, and it's really scary how close they got to it.
Oh yeah.
You were talking earlier about the conspiracy theories you believe and stuff like that, and I told you, Jim Bojo, it's the one that I kind of believe is the whole Hitler escaping Germany and stuff like that. And there's some stuff that's convincing that the Nazis trying to build another nuclear weapon or a nuclear weapon while in Argentina. That stuff is scary.
Yeah, can you imagine the devastation they could have caused? Hitler always had this plan to fire an airburst over New York to get the Americans to pull out of the war. And, they could have done a huge amount of damage. Think about how history would be different, if they, exploded a nuke above New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I was really enjoying that series on Amazon Prime, The Man in the High Castle, that was exploring the what if the Allies had lost the war. It was really cool.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the movie Big Hero 6 also takes place in that universe, if you believe that theory.
Sorry,
oh, here we go.
I didn't see that one.
You got nerd movie theory. These were as conspiracy theories, man.
Well, think about it. The world that Big Hero 6 takes place in is a mix between Tokyo and San Francisco. So what would be the only situation in which San Francisco got a heavy Tokyo vibe?
Yeah, right. The Japanese successfully invaded America somehow or something, right?
Yep.
Or America was looser on its immigration policy. That's a possibility.
See, and this is precisely how conspiracy theories get started. Somebody gets an idea, they express it, and somebody else goes in the back corner is going, and that's the guy who then passes it on to the next one and the next one and the next one.
Right. But usually in that scenario, but usually in that scenario, nobody's saying, but this is another possibility, But see, we are shills. We can do this. We have that superpower.
Also, usually they're not talking about Disney movies.
Yeah. You guys want to keep looking at all the cool planes?
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
All right, let's watch at least one or two more.
Of course, without the HO-229, the United States wouldn't have created anything like this aircraft. This plane that looks distinctly like a UFO is an unmanned combat aerial vehicle, or a UCAV, designed for the US Navy's aircraft carriers. It is a jet-powered aircraft capable of semi-autonomous ops and aerial refueling. The body is based on a blended wing design and is completely without a vertical control tail. It will be developed into battle-ready aircraft for the U-class, or the Unmanned Carrier Launched Airborne Surveillance and Strike system. It is expected to be fully combat operational by 2022. As a full-size aircraft, it is almost certainly going to spark a frenzy of UFO sightings once it starts to appear in the skies around the world. Number 6.
as much as I think that these machines are cool and beautiful, I have to just throw out there, isn't it a shame that war has to be the driving force behind technology advancements?
Yeah.
Well, except for the space race. Let's be honest.
Well, even that was kind of sparked
Cold War,
by
man.
the Cold War.
Yeah. Well,
You know, modern medicine and surgical advancements happened on the battlefield, you know.
I guess when it comes to technology, you could say it's the battlefield and everything like that. Because if you want to get technical, it's the ultimate competition, is what
Yeah,
battlefield is. I think competition is what brings out innovative advances. Because when it comes, if you look at other industries that are not like war industries that are in war, if you look at like the auto industry, where's all the advances taking place in? It's taking place in the race. It's taking place on the race car, on the racetrack, and everything like that, and the race cars. Then it comes to us. I think it's innovation happens where the ultimate competition is.
Yeah, and unfortunately, war is the ultimate
It is.
competition. But I
It,
just hope that as a species, we can outgrow it, you know, because
I
even
agree.
my television antenna is old military tech that used to be used, you know, for receiving antennas on Humvees so that it would be more difficult to knock out their communications,
Yeah.
you know, and even that was classified until about 3 years ago, you
Well,
know.
yeah. It is a shame that the ultimate competition of our species is war and everything like that. But that's how the reality is. And
Yeah, I mean, I may complain about it, and I know it's reality, but it doesn't mean that I have to like it. But at the
exactly,
same
you're
time,
right.
I don't have to create a conspiracy theory because I don't like it. You know.
Right, you're so right. Oh no, Jim Bozier left.
Next plane.
Just a second.
Oh, yep.
Okay, we just saw the UAV there, and referring back to the UFO video before, where he said
Yeah.
it was making movements that no human could practically do.
Yep.
Put that together, like.
Oh yeah. UAVs can do amazing things. I've got a little 50-yard transmitter for a little quadcopter, and it can do things that there is no way in hell a manned craft can do. You know, but at the same time, it can do things that people think a UFO should be able to do, or at least an alien craft. You know.
Well,
My point.
the XP-47 was one of the examples that I thought of when I saw that video the first time. That because there's no man, and it's a human being on board a craft that limits what it can do for G's and turns.
Exactly.
Not the engineering of the craft itself. And so if that was an X-47 that those pilots were filming, it's going to be able to do turns that their plane certainly can't keep up with.
And you think of the small heat signature.
Well, and the shape of the heat signature. Look at the exhaust on that X-47.
Well,
it's long and thin. It's not circular.
It was just a thought.
A good thought.
It was a very good thought. You know. So let's see another plane.
R-71 Blackbird. This aircraft is featured on many lists, but I will say I believe this is the list most appropriate of them all. The tailless spy plane has an even more unusual cross-section than the U-2. This Area 51 alum was briefly reactivated in the 1990s, and rumors of a follow-up, the now legendary Aurora project, have supplied both UFO believers and skeptics with a possible source of unexplained sightings.
We'll go ahead and pause that there. Now, see, when you guys were saying Blackbird earlier, that's what I had in my head.
Yeah,
you know, because that is such a cool plane that Marvel Comics had to use it for the X-Men. You know, how cool is that?
Yeah, that was my bad when I said Blackbird. I meant Nighthawk, but yeah, this is a badass airplane.
Yeah, and if I remember right, the SR-71 could fly higher than any other plane and be the only plane to damn near get to space.
Yep,
it was the fastest. I mean, look, there are experimental aircraft like the X-15, which I'm sure you've heard of, which did something like Mach 6.5 and managed to get right out into space. The pilots who flew those, including Neil Armstrong, got their wings, for Christ's sake. But in terms of actual sort of jet-powered continuous flight, things that were useful to the military. The SR-71 went the highest, it went the fastest. When they used to shoot SAM missiles at it, they'd run out of juice before they even got close. There were a few occasions where they got spotted by radar and missiles were fired. Like Korea managed it once and the Russians did too. But by the time the missile got anywhere near where the plane had been, it had moved another few miles because it's doing Mach 2 and a bit, nearly Mach 3.
Yeah, and I did hear years ago that back in the late 70s, the one did get shot down over Russia, but I don't know how true that is.
No, in the 70s, that was U-2.
That was a U-2? Okay.
Harry Powers in the U-2, yeah.
Yeah, and that was actually 60s.
Yeah.
See, that just goes to show how faulty human memory can be.
That's very
There we go.
It's crazy that when they flew these airplanes, they had to wear pseudo spacesuits. They were really close to wearing an actual spacesuit. What they had to wear, and it's just insane.
Well,
don't forget. Everything was mechanical in there, so they had to turn off all the flight systems, including cabin pressure. So that was the only way to survive up there.
Yeah, but still not aliens.
Still not aliens.
That I hear from the pilots of the SR-71 is two things, actually. One, that they would take their lunch with them because their flights were so long, and to warm their lunch, they would hold it up against the canopy of the plane because it was so hot, it would warm their food.
Yeah, I can believe that.
And two, when the plane is on the ground and it's being fueled, it leaks. And it leaks because it gets so hot and the metals expand so much upstairs that they had to build it loose on the ground so that when it expands, it's tight in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fuel lines contract. Yeah.
And
didn't you, Jen,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to ask, didn't you at one time mention to me that you were training for a pilot's license or had gone to school for that at one point?
I took some ground school stuff, but I never got very far in it. The mathematics kind of fucked me.
Oh.
I'm not very good at math.
Math is evil.
Well, it was for me.
So it's a lot more complicated to grab it and stick in the throttle, huh?
A little bit. I watch Wolfie 6020 and I'm just in awe at this man's mathematics ability and sense of 3D space and navigation. I just dropped my jaw.
Oh yeah, I would never try to compete with people like AB Science and Wolfie 6020 on my channel for trying to, really talk about some hard science. Those men would blow me out of the water.
I have a sapiosexual tint to my personality. I'd jump their bones in a minute, and I'm not even interested in men.
I just love to sit down with them over coffee for several hours and pick their brains. It's got to be interesting in there,
Oh yeah, man, absolutely.
So anyway, one more plane before we get into this more to actual real stupid.
Well, why don't we just let the whole thing go through? Because I really want folks to see some of these unmanned that haven't been seen.
We're about halfway through the video. Okay, let's see another plane.
5. The Bird of Prey. This black project was named after the Klingon Bird of Prey, from the popular Star Trek film and the TV series. It's one of a few aircraft that was actually meant to look like a UFO. It should come as no surprise that it was developed by Boeing's Phantom Works, located, of course, Area 51. It was never intended as a finished aircraft, but rather as a test for stealth-related technologies, much of which would later be used on the X-45 combat UAV. It represented a significant advance in aircraft camouflage technology and was eventually transferred to the National Museum of the United States Air Force at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. Number 4. The X-45A. The Boeing X-45A was an unmanned aerial combat vehicle manufactured by Boeing. It was created as a concept demonstrator for the next generation of wholly autonomous military aircraft, as with Boeing's Bird of Prey, on which it was based. It was developed at the Phantom Works area within Area 51. The X-45A made its first flight in May 2002 and continued until 2006, when the project was suspended by development for the United States Navy. In 2008, Boeing lost the completion and the Navy continued the project with the Northrop Grumman NX-47. A variation of the X-45 project remains partially active as a non-commissioned development known as the Phantom Ray. Number 3. The U-2. The U-2...
You know, that Phantom Ray is just beautiful, and that just goes to show how much we have learned about aerodynamics, you know, that we don't even have to have the normal wings and tail structure on an aircraft to get it to fly, you know.
The only reason why we have the wings like the way we do with airplanes to start with was because of birds. That's the only thing that we knew, so we had to copy them. But I can definitely see how these are mistaken as UFOs, and personally I believe that most actually, I'll state it right now. I believe that every UFO sighting is not of alien, is actually of earthly descent. So I think that most of them are just military aircraft.
Oh, absolutely. I think if aliens really did visit, it would be sort of like the Arrival, you know, something that everybody would be seeing pretty much everywhere, you know?
I think it'd be a little bit more blatant than
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that they would mistake another animal as the species of the planet instead of us.
Well, yeah, you know, Doug Adams might actually be right. He said that the human beings were the third smartest beings on the planet, you know, second to the dolphins and the white mice. He may have a point.
Yeah, man.
Look, all I know is that when I kick an ant bed, there's about a million of those little things in there, and there's only so many of us, and I know there's a lot more ant beds out there.
Can I just add something very briefly? It's just the idea of alien, aircraft that are alien in origin, right? There's not much added advantage to cruising around in the air than there is to, say, having a satellite. It would be much easier for an alien to view us using a satellite than it would to send down little UAVs, unless they're planning on landing. But if they're going to land, you don't need to fly around either. So it seems bizarre that they would go all the effort of coming millions and millions and billions of miles and then never actually quite touching the surface, just sort of scooting around and taking aerial photos.
Or leaving carved rocks.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll
Or
actually
mutilated cows.
I think I'll actually defend the whole hovering thing. It's kind of for the same reasons why we never got to see spy satellites be a thing. In that an aircraft, especially if you have alien technology, you can get it anywhere pretty quickly. It can be anywhere at once at a particular time. A satellite has to go through cycles to see a certain thing.
Yeah, and not counting the flurps. I mean, human species are really freaking smart. You know, why do we always have to assume that if it's really advanced, it's got to be extraterrestrial? You know?
Because the conspiracy theorists think that they're the smartest ones in the world, and if they can't conceive of it, no one can.
I tell you what, if they're the smartest ones in the world, we are screwed. You know?
So, maybe we are. That's what I
That's
worry.
until they start referring to ancient texts as them having the great knowledge that the Earth was flat.
Oh God, please no. It's a whole nother show.
Yeah. So, Anthony, Flatter, you guys are still being quiet. Come on. Join the club.
I've been talking that whole time.
Yeah. Oh, man, you must have been on mute. I couldn't hear you.
He talks to the voices in his heads.
Oh, is
there is
that
a wee bit
what
of
it
that.
is? So, how's things going over there in your world, Anthony?
Oh, good.
Yeah, you enjoying yourself?
Oh, yes, I am having a blast. This is my first actual meeting, I guess, outside of Jimbo's interview.
Oh, your first panel?
Yeah.
Oh wow! No,
okay.
you're a little bit quiet then, man. Wow,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
I'm a
we
virgin.
can be very rambunctious and slightly intimidating to a newbie. So, but yeah, I'm just going to keep encouraging you to jump on in. So,
Well, I will when I have something to say.
okie dokie. Shall we see another one?
Yes, yes.
It's a band, but a ultra-high altitude reconnaissance aircraft created by Lockheed Martin and operated by the United States Air Force. Nicknamed the Dragon Lady, the U-2 was one of the first classified planes flown from the Air Force's secret test facility at Area 51. Onlookers would have undoubtedly been alarmed by the U-2's long wings and silver coloring prone to reflection. The U-2 was capable of day and night all-weather intelligence gathering, as well as for electronic sensor research, satellite calibration, and communication. Very early prototypes were used during the Cold War and flown over the Soviet Union, Vietnam, China, and Cuba. Today, the U-2 is still in service, one of the only aircraft besides the B-52 which can boast a record of service of over 50 years. Number 2. The RQ-3 Dark Star. The RQ-3 Dark Star by Lockheed Martin and Boeing seems to have been short-lived. With its program canceling in just 3 years after a crash, some speculation has indicated that the plug was only publicly pulled on the RQ-3, with a similar spy plane spotted in Iraq in 2003. Designed to be a high-altitude endurance unmanned aerial vehicle, the Dark Star could take off, arrive at its target, operate fully to gather and transmit information, and return without the need of a pilot, all while remaining undetected. Today, the RQ-3, which stands for Reconnaissance Unmanned Third of its series, can be seen at the National Museum of the United States Air Force at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, the Great Gallery of the Museum of Flight in Seattle, and the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. Number 1. The B-2 Spirit. If you have never seen our number 1, the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber by Northrop Grumman, you might have mistaken it to be something extraterrestrial. But it is its unique design of the B-2 Spirit bomber that allows it to fly so stealth-like. The B-2 was designed with a technique called continuous curvature, which allows the curved surfaces to deflect radar. Released in 1989, 2 years before the Persian Gulf War, the B-2 Spirit has been used in several combat scenarios, including Operations Allied Forces in Kosovo, Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and Operation Odyssey Dawn in Libya. The B-2's range falls at 6,000 miles and is capable of flying for 6 straight hours without refuel. In fact, the bomber comes stocked with amenities such as a bed, toilet, a hot plate for food preparation, to allow a crew member to rest up on a long mission. The B-2 relies on split-brake rudders and differential thrust to maneuver. Keeping radar cross-sections low, the bomber's engines located inside the wing reduces the engine's heat signature from tracking systems by hiding the fan's blades.
Hey guys.
Yeah, the whole thing that was designed impartial off of those designs from the Germans.
Ah, well, there you go. I mean, we were saying it's the original triangular aircraft, isn't it? When people first started putting these, it's sort of... I know, no, don't get me wrong. I know that there are earlier Delta Wings. What I mean is the stealth bomber. It's like the first of the proper black aircraft that came into popular culture. Like the Blackbird and the U-2 were sort of slightly different adventures. This thing was around during the Gulf War. And sorry.
Back in the early 60s, when we had our kites that you go to pick up at the hardware store, your basic little, quadratically shaped, cross-shaped kite from High Flyer, they all had a picture of a flying wing on the front. The Northrop flying wing that never made it into production.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. They built them in the 50s.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
I saw one in an air show once. It was really cool.
And that's what came from the Horton.
Yeah,
Yep.
when it comes to those winged aircraft like that, there's only so many shapes you can actually go with that will fly. So they all do look very similar, and they all derive from that original German one. If I'm not mistaken, I remember seeing that.
Yeah, those
Well,
have all been really
you're wrong.
cool, and I can see why people would say, "Oh, that can't be another plane. It's got to be an alien." I mean, some of those shapes you do see in sci-fi movies, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Although, if we're
Yeah.
fair, a lot of the time they design alien sort of fighter spacecraft to look like planes in a way that is totally unnecessary for a space-like craft.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
wings in space.
You see them banking around like airplanes, and you're thinking, why has that got a rudder in space?
Yeah, like the old Battlestar Galactica, it's okay.
With
With Star Wars.
Good luck. Yeah, right. X-wing.
Star-
What does it need all that for?
Star Wars is literally designed to look like a World War II dogfight. I mean, in space, none of the moves that any of them make sense.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
in
but it was
space,
really
no.
cool visually in 1977 when you
But
were used to having
now-
Captain Kirk and his plastic rocks,
But this also illustrates the topic that we're talking about. Is you get your Russian vids and people like that who are so ignorant about things like aerodynamics and things like physics that they look at something like that and they make the assumption that it's possible and likely. The whole portal thing can come down to one movie that Russian vids saw with his hero Roddy Piper.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
that talked
right.
about portals.
Roddy.
And his ignorance of anything scientific makes him feel that is perfectly possible.
And you're completely correct.
Yeah.
And it's the education system lacking in teaching critical thinking skills that causes this.
Oh my! I'm noticing a slight problem developing in the live chat. And the conspiracy said, "No curve, it's flat." I'm sorry, buddy. Is Dwarven Hammer starting to take over? Do we need to talk? We
Where's
love you, man.
Gracie?
Come back. Yeah.
Got in, got a wrench.
And the conspiracy is really great. If anybody hasn't checked him out, you need to. His Dwarven Hammer stuff just cracks me up.
Yeah, but real quick.
Oh yeah, no, I think he's great.
Yeah.
So.
And the conspiracy is great, but real quick with Jen, you're completely correct, Jen, and what you just said, like stuff with Russian vids and everything like that. That's completely correct. And I'd like to add, what they usually do is they'll do stuff like, "Oh, would you design an airplane this way?" It's like, if I designed this thing, if I was in control of this thing, if I was in control of the Air Force, I would do these other things and like that, as if they believe that they're so narcissistic, as if they believe that they know more than everyone else about everything. It's just so annoying. You wouldn't come up with that design in a million years. Like, one of the way, if you look at the B2, when you look at it from the side, they went to a Falcon and designed it based off of a Falcon. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't even know.
Can you imagine an aircraft that a conspiracy theorist like a Flurf, say Danny Pratt or InRim would build? Oh my God. I may not sleep tonight now with that thought in my head.
Do you remember that episode of The Simpsons where Homer designs a car and when they unveil it at the end, everyone like gasps because it's just appalling. It's got two bubble domes and like a Dixie horn and Rolls Royce fins and all sorts of nonsense. That's what's in my mind right now. Like, Flurf Ultimate Aerial Vehicle's got like 3 wings for some reason and a propeller on one side and a jet engine on the other, and it doesn't really fly straight.
No curved windows on those jetliners, okay? They're going to have no But, yeah, it's as if they've never designed anything in their life, and they think they know how designing works.
Yeah.
It just really bugs me.
When I was a kid, I was an early adopter of the Estes rockets, the toy rockets for kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so at my age, in those days of like 7th grade, my brother and I were designing rockets, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot high rockets that would fly to 2,000, 2,500 feet. And as a kid, we were forced to learn about center of pressure, center of gravity, all this crap that goes into making a rocket actually able to fly. And these people don't do any of that stuff anymore.
Well, see, the thing is, we're smart enough to know what it is that we don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, it sounds weird to say it that way, but that is really what's happening. They don't know what they don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, they always say, I want the truth, and I feel like I'm in a movie. You can't handle the truth.
Oh, man.
Sorry, for the city where I come from, the phrase "you don't know what you don't know" has a bad connotation.
Well,
really?
Exactly. When Donald Rumsfeld stood in front of the cameras and said, "We don't know what we don't know," people laughed, and it's like, wait a minute, that is one of the most significantly relevant things any politician has ever said.
Absolutely.
It's
The beginning
true,
of
we
all
don't
scientific
know.
inquiry is I don't know, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and the more you learn about any subject whatsoever, you learn more about what you don't know about the subject.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate to break in for it. I want to say goodbye to Stuck in Florida. He's been a constant supporter of our channel here, and he has commented on almost every single video that I have produced. So he's bowing out for the night, and I want to say good night, Stuck in Florida, and thanks for sticking with me, man. You've been great.
Yeah, good night, Stuck in Florida. Thanks,
Good night,
man.
Stuck.
That's awesome.
So anyway, carry on.
No, there's a thing, like, I learned a lot about design when I was in a robotics club and when I was in high school and stuff like that. And I finally got the chance to design a robot for my senior year, and there was a lot that I learned. There was a lot that I learned there that I had no idea that went into the design, went into the thought process and everything like that. And it did open my mind and stuff like that. And when I got into college and when I got into going into different spheres and getting into different areas and things that way, stuff that I thought was very basic on the outside, I learned that it's incredibly detailed. There's incredible amounts of work that go into simple things. That the saying, you don't know what you don't know, it's so true. Unless you're in a field, unless you are educated on the subject, you absolutely have no idea what you don't even know about.
Oh yeah, even something as simple as making YouTube videos.
Oh, yeah.
When I first started making my stuff, I'm looking at Ragical, I'm looking at Brainy Beaver, I'm looking at a couple other people, and I'm like, yeah, let's go with animation. That's not tough. Who wants to see an old bald white guy on video, right? So let's do animation. There's a little bit more to it than that. There was a bit of a learning curve,
There's a
And you're
reason
on a
why I don't
tablet.
do animation.
It's true, though. A little bit of ignorance can be useful here, right? Because if you'd known before you'd started just how difficult animating on a tablet was going to be, you might never have started. So maybe there's some value there.
I've learned some things, over the months of doing this, because my very first few videos, I was actually making animation cells one at a time in Photoshop, and my first couple of videos took a couple of hundred of those animation cells. I've learned how to do it on green screen now, so it's a lot quicker and easier. But, I had no idea what green screen was when I first started doing this,
Absolutely.
Well, it's like that when we were in Discord and you asked that, could you do anything to change that? And I ended up writing you a little soliloquy about what
it was very helpful.
I could have gone on 10,000 more words.
Yeah.
There's so much involved in just a little thing like the question you asked.
And I'm sure a year from now it'll evolve into something completely different and something even better, So
and that's the answer I try to give kids or young people when they make that statement of, well, I'm never going to use that information. I don't need to learn that. No, you need to learn that because you need to not be stupid when you're an adult, because all these things do come into your life at some point on some level. And as a wholeness of education, all the little pieces fit together. You need it all.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
So
reason why they teach you math. There's a reason why they teach you history. There's a reason why they teach you sciences. Even though if you're gonna be like a, I don't know, like a I can't even think of a profession that doesn't exist for those three. But even if you're just a burger flipper and everything like that, you have to have these basic stuff. Not even that you're going to use it, but just to allow your brain to think in that direction. Because
there's a certain level of critical thinking that is required in everyday life.
Yeah, every one of those sessions, every one of those subjects has a different way of thinking. And even literature and everything like that, they have a different way of thinking, and it's not teaching you just the facts. You're not going to remember every formula. You're not going to remember every calculation you ever do, but you will remember the form of thinking that it takes to go through a formula and plug things in. You're not going to remember every detail in history, but it will allow your brain to think in that direction, and you're not going to remember every Shakespearean poem, but it does allow you to read, but it will teach you how to read between the lines.
But you better be able to remember when the War of 1812 started.
You're right. You're right. 1836 was a very interesting year, especially for the start of the War of 1812. But
okay.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point. Look, everyone knows that there's been a certain move in Western education in general towards getting kids through exams over necessarily putting the knowledge into them, right? We do accept that. However, it's basically currently the best system we have. And it is very effective if undertaken properly at giving people lots of different nuggets of the different tools that they'll use throughout life to create a decent working model of the universe in their own brain. And that will require a perspective on history and a perspective on science and maths and language and culture and religion and the whole lot of it, really. So even if what you do in life doesn't involve maths or physics, your life will involve the maths or physics as you come to understand it around you.
Yes, absolutely. And Tommy Groundball just popped into the chat. Hey, Tommy. He and I's been chatting back and forth on each other's channels for a while. He's a really cool guy. You know, he's another one that people, if you don't know him, check him out.
Oh,
Good morning,
great.
Tommy.
Hey, Tommy.
So anyway, did you guys want to compare and contrast the thinking process of what we've just looked at in these aircraft and a conspiracy theorist?
Ooh, that sounds good. That sounds excellent. I'll give that a go.
Hey, Tom, how about playing dipstick on and back in door number 3 there?
Okay, no problem. Got it queued up.
Hello, YouTube. So, plane coming into Nelson, local there. Moon just there. Fake moon, that is. And a contrail there, and oh look, no plane again. Let's have a look here. No plane. No plane. Do we get that? And that plane wouldn't have seen that moon out the window like that either. Very unusual to see it like that. But yeah, there's the Fallen with a contrail above the moon. Yeah. Just remember, it's all fake. It's all intelligent. Cheers, KJ.
Flatter, I want to hear what you think.
You can actually see the airplane. You can clearly see the airplane.
Yes. It's a little hazy, but yes.
Wow.
The black line is the airplane, and he misses it.
Yeah.
Good God. I can't. Words fail me, man. Like, you said it was a thought process. I don't think that qualifies. My God.
You know, like Qui-Gon said, the ability to speak does not denote intelligence.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I really want to go a bit jump monk. Do you know what I mean? I'm on the verge of going, it's right there, and completely losing my shit. Like,
I went right to Fantasy Island. Must be plane, the plane.
Oh my God. I'm sure he's real. That can't be real. He can't be a real person who really thinks this stuff, can he? How's he walking around in public? He needs a special foam helmet and someone to do his Velcro shoes for him. Jesus.
Yeah, that was something. That was absolutely something.
I'll tell you what, it's proof that they make modern cameras to be like foolproof. Literally anyone can use one, right? Because literally he must have picked it up and mashed at the buttons until it started running.
You say used, but and how much of that video was the subject that he was trying to point at actually in frame?
Yeah, that's true. It's only a blessing he wasn't shooting it from his car.
I did notice every time his autofocus started to focus on the fuselage of the plane, he would move it. And why wouldn't the plane see the moon from that angle? What? It's a
elevation
big ass piece of rock reflecting sunlight. How are you gonna miss it?
Because there's a hologram. He stated it. It's a hologram.
Oh my god.
And the contrails are intelligent. Did I hear him right?
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm sure the contrail's a little more intelligent than he is.
Yeah. Look, anybody can get their phone, hit the record button, and place it on their face and look up. But not many people can actually capture what they're looking at in frame. So I will refute you, Joe, that cameras are simple to use.
See, now this goes back to the original topic that we started with 2 hours ago, right? Back when I was a kid, this guy would have been on a soapbox screaming his full head off in City Park, and we would have all looked at him and said, yep, he's nuts. We're staying the hell away from him. But today, because of social media, thank you very much, we have a platform that makes people say, oh, yeah, maybe.
When they do Speaker's Corner at Hyde Park in London, they confine it to one corner of the park on one day of the week. The problem with the internet is that Hyde Park Speaker's Corner is now the whole universe 24/7. It's a bit of a nightmare. I mean, it's funny watching the man standing there shouting about, the end is nigh, Nibiru is coming, when it's one-on-one and he's sort of harmless. But when he's got 278,000 subscribers or whatever, it's a bit concerning.
To be fair, how many subs does this guy have who did this video?
I really don't know. I just found the stupidest thing I could find for this discussion, and I really didn't pay attention to who he was. I know Dick Holman in the chat asked the same thing. Who is this knob cheese? I really don't know, but I can definitely link it in the description after the stream is over.
Oh,
This goes back to my argument. I think that if you were to look into that, I imagine the guy would have, like, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 subs, and the video probably has like 16, 20 views or something like that. And because I only say that because that's how most of these videos end up. Not many of them actually have views. Not many of them actually have the subscribers and stuff like that. I think that would go back to my point of it's a numbers game, not a percentages, or it's a percentages game, not really a numbers game. And in fact, the percentages are still the same, but the numbers are just going up because of the internet. Because all the numbers are going up.
Yeah. But then there are those flirts and other conspiracy theorists who have very successful channels and very dedicated audiences, and that frightens me.
Yeah, and there are also snake oil salesmen who developed who made a good amount of profit and stuff like that. And the one guy crazy on the street corner would have someone else arguing with them. This is one guy in a video, and we have 7 people arguing against him.
Yeah. So
the problem I'm concerned about is herd immunity, funnily enough, because it's appropriate.
Yes.
The thing is, with YouTube, what happens is people in the past who might never even have heard these ideas would have continued to broadly follow the consensus, even if they had vague suspicions or they just didn't understand it. Maybe they'd be more likely to just accept they didn't understand it. Whereas now it's much easier to find like-minded morons and convince yourself you've got a movement.
Yeah, I like to think of our channels as the vaccine against stupid.
Yeah, I agree. That's
no wonder the flat earthers don't accept us.
We're vaccines.
Of course.
Exactly.
Of course they're not going to take a vaccine. Damn it. What were we thinking?
Yeah.
We balls this up properly, lads. Never mind.
We failed at the first start.
Yeah. It's like Danny Pratt. I saw him on one of his videos say, and why would I watch their channels? I'm not going to learn anything anyway. Well, you must be watching something because you're complaining about us all the damn time. You know,
Uh-huh.
but
I know
that's
he
the
goes to
perfect
every
example
John
of I'm going
Hawkins
to turn my
stream.
brain off and just believe what I believe and bite me.
Amen.
Well, but the dynamic that they go through to achieve that they'll stand there and say to us, um, everything you say is a lie. You've been indoctrinated, but fail to see their own indoctrination.
Yeah,
That they will
built-in defense mechanisms,
that they will look
definitely.
at that they will look at evidence upon evidence upon evidence that's provable about the globe. Since we're talking about that, and
Yep.
say this is all lies, no matter what the source. But then look at some half-baked idiot in his basement spinning a tennis ball full of water and take that as truth.
Yeah, I wonder if I could start a conspiracy theory that says that you can spin straw into gold and get people to follow along with it.
Classic. Yeah, man. Well,
You
why don't
know.
you go for the classic fairy tale and say that you've developed a form of thread so fine that it can only be seen by the most intelligent people, and you've made all of these clothes, and try the whole Emperor's New Clothes bit out on people in real life. See who you can get to walk down the street butt naked.
Oh, that's why I can sell at my merch
I do
store
not want
whenever I
to
get
see
one.
Danny Pratt naked.
What's that,
What's that, Flatter?
I do not want to see Daniel Pratt naked, so let's not start with naked.
Oh, yes, there is always that angle to consider. Oh my God, I definitely am not sleeping tonight now.
Yeah,
oh, nightmares abound.
Truggers, do you still have the video of the last UFO kind of one with the contrail? I don't want to give it away.
Another video.
Tom, was that the end of this particular video, or is there more of it?
No, that was its end. So it's time for that little special treat you got lined up.
Okay, so no, we don't have that particular one, Jen. I'm sorry. I thought I did. I thought it was in this video. But anyway, we've been on for a little over 2 hours, so I'm going to have to get to bed sometime. So I decided that we can kind of go out with a little bit of a laugh and just kind of do a shill style point and laugh debunk of Daniel Pratt. What do you guys think?
I'm down.
I am absolutely up for that.
All right,
Sounds
Tom,
good, my bro.
let's roll the Pratt.
Okay, let's get down to brass tacks, shall we? Patricia Steer was not only steering the flat earth movement away from any definitive science that we could throw in the face of the science establishment in order to force a response, a scientific response. She stated in one of her shows, she was going on proudly about what a dysfunctional family we are. Well, there was her mission in regards to the flat earth side. It is my contention she's also...
Wow.
Like he knows anything about science, scientific experiments or methods, right? What is he basing this on?
Early in his video career that I know of, he talked about an incident he had when he was in machine shop operation school or whatever, where they were told to cut up a piece of metal into 3 equal sizes, and he was supposedly the only person in the class who understood the concept of the blade kerf. And so his calculations, he took the blade kerf into consideration. And I think ever since that moment in his life, he thinks he's a genius. That's my feeling.
He doesn't act like it. I mean, it's easy to say Dunning-Kruger, but he's so convinced he knows what he's talking about, and he is so wrong so often.
Yeah, but I gotta admit, for a third grader, that's a pretty good cognitive leap. Most third graders wouldn't think along those lines, but most third graders go past the third grade.
Yeah, quite. He is definitely a case of arrested development. There is no doubt.
Yes.
Can we credit this guy with the genius wordplay at the beginning? Patricia Steer is steering it away. Can we?
Oh, yes, he loves to do
Yes.
that. He thinks he's so clever. Oh my God.
Only a man with the mind of a god can come up with a wordplay that brilliant.
Or a second grader on the playground.
I don't know. I
yeah, well, yeah, quite one or the other.
High school newspaper had better headlines.
And I hear her name and I think of a heifer. So
Yeah, I don't know. I do kind of feel sorry for Patricia in the way they turned on her so viciously.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. The poor girl. I mean, she just wanted to be part of them, and then they treat her like that. That's disgusting.
Well, see, that goes back to that part 2 that I did of the psychology of conspiracy theories with the collective narcissism. That the idea is more important than any particular leader, and if that temporary leader does something or says something that goes against what the group wants, they're out. There's no such thing as the bull rider isn't in control of the bull. So anybody that wants to try to lead that group, you've got to have some brass bahoogies for that.
I expect any pope who's ever lived has realized that just because you're at the top of the church doesn't mean that you're the one in charge.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I like TC Lucas's comment from the chat. He said, "Oh, thanks for that visual when you showed Pratt. Grabs a rusty butter knife and proceeds to gouge out his mind's eye."
Oh, I think he was talking about the Pratt being naked. I don't know. But yeah, TC Lucas and Dick Holman, they're also longtime supporters of our channel. Thanks a lot, guys. And but anyway, shall we see more Pratt? Or is that it?
In it with the main debunking crew the entire time. Go see how many hit videos they ever did about Patricia while they slander, degrade, and decimate the rest of us daily. She was hands off. Oh, she was just a talk show host. She didn't do proofs. Her face was everywhere. Her mouth was everywhere. Flat Earth is mentioned in the mainstream, but the kid gloves couldn't be more obvious from these globe defenders, as far as she's concerned. She also promoted a few of them in the beginning.
Man, I'm sorry, but look, the fact of the matter is, we're not assholes. That's how it boils down. When she got treated really badly by her own community, even we could see that was harsh. It wasn't reasonable behavior. She didn't deserve it. You can say that we will examine every single individual action on its own merits, whereas that lot are like rabid wolves fighting and schisming over, no, it's not compressed air. They don't run on compressed air. They run on what? You know what I mean? They have these endless arguments where they break off into smaller and smaller factions. No, there is no gravity. Oh, now Bob Nodell thinks there is. It's just madness. There's no cohesion at all. And when he's saying, oh, we treat her with kid gloves, yeah, we're just being nice. I know it's not something you've ever heard of, but there you go.
And we do kind of decimate them daily, and
oh yeah,
because they're so stupid. And we're not really globe defenders. Some of us are comedians. Some of us are interviewers. Some of us are educators. Some of us are real scientists and real mechanics and engineers. They're educators. They're not defenders. They're educators.
And some of us are your average everyday idiot, like me.
And there's a place for everybody as long as they got something intelligent to say. And that's the key word, intelligent.
Well, looks like I'm out.
I've heard you say some smart things, Flatter. Don't you give me that.
No, I think that was Yuri saying those smart things. Don't give Flatter all the credit either. It's Yuri and the other guys too.
We don't need to stroke Yuri.
Yeah, that Yuri anymore.
No, can I make an analogy here?
Sure.
It might be a little far-fetched, but there's a saying out there that if someone cheats on someone else to get with you, then they're probably going to end up cheating on you too. And I think that applies with conspiracy theorists, is that if they come up with a conspiracy about one thing, they're going to come up with a conspiracy about you too. If you get big into inside the conspiracy theory sphere, and that's something that I heard a lot from Patricia and everything like that. Is that her making jokes and stuff that other people are coming up with conspiracies about her, and how she's just placed there, and just placed there to be a pretty face and everything like that. And that's how the conspiracy theorists are going to treat her. They're coming up with conspiracy theories about everything else and being unintelligent about everything else. What's stopping them from being a conspiracy theory and unintelligent when it comes to her?
Yeah, exactly.
It's same divide every time, though. The same thing. It all boils down to one thing. You either choose your conclusion and fit the evidence, or you follow the evidence and find out the conclusion. We're people who go into this saying, I don't know. And so when we find the answer, it's more likely to be true because we look for it honestly. These are people who went in thinking they already know the truth, and they've just tried to find evidence, air quotes, that fits it.
Now I have a personal theory about this rant with the Pratt. He was complaining about her face was everywhere, her mouth was everywhere. Well, I think of a few places where that ain't true, and I think that's probably what's got him torqued.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of jealousy too.
Well, let your mind imagine on that one. I won't alliterate any further, but there's a joke in there somewhere.
I thought that's what you were saying. Damn it!
I was just going to say because
Trog.
she had Pratt on her show a couple of times at least.
I don't know. I never really watched her.
Well, she just had a kind of radio show. It's a bit depressing to have to admit this, but it sort of had some reminiscent bits of the Shills, if I'm completely honest, which is she'd have all these different new creators on and discuss this.
There was a little bit like, I don't know, Jim Bojo?
At least I can be honest about it. We should call it Globe Earth and Other Hot Potatoes, really, shouldn't we?
Well, she did come from an upbringing in the radio business. Her father owned a station.
Yeah, well, absolutely, indeed.
And her show, as insane as the concepts are, was very professionally done. She did an excellent quality show in terms of technical aspect.
She has good passer as well. She's a really good presenter, let's be honest,
Excellent speaking voice. Just clear, succinct, very, very talented.
Yep. And Dick Holman was asking that we put the description, everybody's links to their channels. Absolutely. I will be doing that because everybody here deserves more subs as far as I'm concerned. They're all great.
Oh, I love the Troglodyte. Well, so do you, mate. I mean, everyone watching, just on the off chance there are people in here who haven't subbed to him, I hope you are doing so as we speak. The button is right there, people. Also, if the likes aren't equal to the number of people watching, I shall be very disappointed. So please make sure you hit that little blue thumbs up for him, won't you? He's too polite to ask himself.
Yeah, I'm just tickled to think that at almost 2.5 hours, there's 30 people still watching our craziness.
That's really
I got 36 likes here.
Yeah, I got 30 likes here, and whoever put in that one dislike. Come on, man.
It's always got to be one.
Oh, there was a flurf in there somewhere. I knew there was going to be at least one. You know
you're doing something right if you've pissed one of them off, right?
Oh, yes. I enjoy it every time I get a troll in my comment sections. They're fun to play with.
Oh, yeah. We had that brilliant comment wall where we were trying to get you up to 100 comment threads. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. And that was our only goal, was to get that comment thread over 100.
Yeah, he played ball. He really helped out. You went over 100 in the end. He couldn't stop himself.
He was very accommodating. You know, I got to hand it to that guy. He kept his outrage going for 2 weeks. I can't even manage 10 minutes, and I'm wore out. You know, so.
He was stuck in a month.
Brilliant.
That was awful.
Yeah, is there more Pratt? Let's get more Pratt.
All right.
Yeah, I agree.
Pratt-alicious.
If you people really can't see that, it's more obvious than the flat horizon to me by now. These leaders will continue to keep doing visual tests over water that will never be definitive proof of anything. Because then all the globe heads have to do is keep screaming refraction, mirage. And so the debate continues. And everybody's YouTube channels continue raking in the money, while they discredit and abuse the character of all the smaller channels so that they don't get heard, while her face is plastered over all over YouTube because she was so sweet and so kind, and we just made her beautiful flat earth ugly. No, Patricia, you did just like you planned to the entire time. And now your little exit strategy of making everybody the bad guy is blowing up in your face. Go look at how many...
Because these are some great jokes. So, you know what? Jimbo, you've got to tell people what you were just saying when that video was playing.
Wait, which bit? I've forgotten now. I was just sort of, riffing. I don't even remember what I said.
You were talking about what the Pratt means in England.
Oh, right. Well, the first problem is every time one of you guys says, let's see more Pratt, if you're an English speaker, or sorry, if you're from England, the word Pratt has an entirely different meaning, and you just keep shouting it, guys. It's like you don't even realise. It's freaking me out.
What does it mean in the UK?
Well, Pratt is the name for female, parts. How do I say it politely? What am I supposed to say?
I thought that was Fanny.
Lady Garden.
See,
we've got a whole mess of words, man. Wow.
Oh, okay.
We've got so many words for that, but Pratt is one of them.
I was not aware of that. I was going on the dictionary definition of Pratt, which is, an idiot, a foolish person, Well, he's aptly named for that.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding on
your ass.
Like,
your ass is your Pratt.
Oh, okay.
I've not heard that one used.
Sit on
not
your
as an
Pratt?
ass.
Yeah,
No, you're sitting on something else, as it were. I mean, it's sort of like the way in America the word fanny tends to refer to one's bum, right? Whereas in the UK, again, that's the same. We're referring to the same part as the Pratt there. We're not talking about our ass with that one.
No, somebody would say, set your Pratt down.
Oh, okay.
Ah, okay, cool. Oh, I've not heard it used like that. Fair enough.
And you were also saying about him being,
old Daniel Pratt.
The infinite block of ice,
Yeah, he's in the man is in permanent meltdown, right? Every time I see his unblinking cold eyes, I think, how's there any more sanity left to lose? Unless there he is melting away like an infinite block of ice that just keeps melting. There's just more. There's more drip, 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 and then another 5 videos and another 5 videos. You know what I mean? It's sort of addictive. You get locked into those eyes and you think, my God, he really means it. I think he is a true believer, right?
He is definitely a true believer.
Wow. It fills me with a kind of cold awe that I might get from staring into the heart of a black hole, terror and wonder at the same time, and complete mental loss. I have no words.
Yeah, see, now the rest of the panel, check me here. Jim keeps telling me that he's just an interviewer. He's not a debunker. I think he's really showing himself here. What do you guys think?
Oh, don't do that. No.
He is definitely
people.
I don't know that he's been debunking, but he certainly is an excellent descriptor.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yep.
I've got away with words sometimes. That's why I'm good at the shill thing, because I can just sort of fill in the spaces, basically. That's my job, right? When there's dead air, I just fill it with natter.
You're great at it.
On to the next person. It's very easy, You say something intelligent. Oh, yeah, that was intelligent. Blah, blah, blah. Someone else,
Don't ever put me on the spot to say something intelligent.
I won't put it to you like that. How about that? I'll trick you into thinking you're saying something dumb, but I know we'll get something smart out of you.
Yeah, I was terrified the first time somebody asked me onto a live stream, and I think it was Crash's RC, Because I'm one of these people that my brain is slow and methodic, and sometimes it plods, and I really want to think out responses most of the time. And in live stream, you can't do that, because it would be boring, So, but I got over that pretty quick.
Yeah, you gotta have that sound bite ready to go.
Yeah.
When it comes to something that's live and everything like that, you don't have time to really think out your details. Or if you do think, you're thinking out as you're saying it. And
Yeah, it's like playing chess where you got to think 5 and 6 moves ahead,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure we've all found ourselves halfway through a point where we're not quite sure why we started it, and now we've got to make a coherent finish, right?
Then you just keep talking on and on and on and on.
We used to practice that in college. We had this one particular lounge area in the student union where we would hang out. And one day I started on the blackboard there. I started just writing typically sophomoric nonsense. But the only goal that I had in mind was that the beginning of a sentence had to connect to the end of the previous sentence. That was the only rule to what was being written. And after about half the blackboard, it started out. I think it started out something about the fall foliage and the color. And by the time I got halfway down on the board, it was talking about butchering meat. But in between, it connected those two concepts. Okay, um, and so we used to do that, and people started to join in, and everybody started to write another sentence or add a sentence every day or every hour or whatever, as long as the beginning of one sentence connected to the end of the previous. And it's amazing what you could do and how fluid it forces you to start thinking. To do a stupid little exercise like that. So that I still do it today, just in my own head.
It's good exercises to do. And hey, I want to throw out there, Tom has been doing great as our producer, but I know Thomas really well. And I know he's been biting his tongue over this Pratt thing. So, Tom, what do you got for us?
This guy is just the biggest waste of space the internet has to offer. Look the way he goes on and on. His mind is on vacation, and holy fuck is his mouth working overtime. It's ridiculous.
Keep going, man. I'm loving it. Keep it coming.
You know the one where he does the ball and the drill thing. We talked about this earlier on the shills, right? If you scale the speed of the ball's rotation down to the size of the ball and make it relative to the Earth's rotation and its size, the thing would barely be moving, Daniel. How is this so hard for like a grown-up to figure out? He picked up the cell phone, and those Neanderthal knuckles of his that are all scraped from dragging on the ground when he has to go to the store for milk, still figured out how to stream that bullshit to us. Why the fuck do we have to listen to it? Fuck!
I love it when Canadian Thomas gets into Dick Dawson mode. It is always a good time, And but man, I know that everybody's had a long night, staying up for this stream. We've been on an hour longer than we wanted to. And it doesn't matter about the rest of the Pratt video because it's just more stupid crap anyway. What do you say we start wrapping up so, old men like me can get some sleep?
Okay, yeah, we'll let you go to sleep.
Okay.
I can do a little rap thing. I just hope people take away from this that it isn't so much the facts or so-called facts that these idiots on YouTube are presenting that we deal with it, but it's the thinking, how people are thinking and how they're putting these so-called facts together. I personally, as my channel gets going, will never debate ever a flat earther because it's just a complete waste of time. If one wants to come on my channel and show me proof of their flat world existence, that I'll consider. But to argue with them is just a waste. It's just a waste.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
They never have proof.
Yeah, it's like that the MC Tune debate with 33UC that he asked me to moderate. You know, we were really hoping that he would bring something, and all he brought was, you know, evasions and deflections and the number 33. And it's like, oh, God, no, you
Yeah.
know. So no wonder he was playing with the Rubik's Cube and reading a Dr. Seuss book. I mean, that's all there's to do with it except point and laugh, you know.
That was so funny, by the way. MC Toon's got such a dry delivery. What he said this one thing at one point ago. Oh, I'm so sorry. Did the middle of my sentence interrupt the start of yours when you
Oh,
said
yes.
UC cut across
I
him?
had to
Oh
put myself
man,
on. I had to put
what a
myself on
legend!
push to talk during that because I was laughing so hard at those
Right?
one-liners. They were, you know, oh, MC Tune is great, you know.
He is real performer.
All right, so let's hear from Annie Flatter uh, and then we can hear it from Anthony and keep on moving toward bed.
That sounds good.
Annie Flatter.
Yeah,
Hello?
I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, wakey. What do you got for us?
Oh, sorry, mate. I have literally been half pulling an AB Science. Almost 8:30 here, and I feel like I'm an old man falling asleep.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did we bore you?
No. Your guys' level of intelligence way higher than my one, and someone mentioned Yuri, and so I had to stroke his ego for a while.
Oh,
At least
as
it was
long
just
as
his
that
ego.
was all as it go, yeah. Jim, you scare me when you use my brain.
Sorry, man. This happens all the time. There's something weird there.
So, anyway, you had any wrap-up thoughts there, Andy Flatter?
Oh no, let's reiterate, mate. Congratulations for your 500, man, and cheers for putting this one on. This has been absolutely awesome.
Oh, thank you very much. You've been wonderful on the show. What about you, Anthony? What do you got for us to wrap up with?
Well, yeah. First off, thanks for the invite to this, and congratulations on the 500, and soon to be another 500. Yeah, about evidence from flat earthers. You know, I was thinking we come to the table with a Lego Millennium Falcon put together, and flat earthers come with a box of Legos and say, do your research.
Yeah, no kidding. Or it can't be done. You know, wait a minute.
That's
pretty much. I
it's
like
not a
putting things in
Millennium
simple
Falcon.
terms.
Yeah.
Oh, you
And
know.
Anthony, you definitely need to keep plugging away and making more videos on that Stone Hard Bread channel of yours. I will be putting a link in the description, and I encourage everybody to check that out and sub to it. He's got a really good start going. And Blue Earth, what do you got?
Oh man. First off, again, congratulations to get to 500. I can't wait for maybe 2 weeks. We can do this again to celebrate 600, and then after that, maybe 700, because this is a lot of fun. But overall, yeah, I think Anthony nailed it right on the head with the Lego analogy and everything like that. When it comes to flat earthers, when it comes to most of these conspiracy theorists, Dunning-Kruger effect is absolutely real, and it shows off with these guys. But overall, man, I've had a lot of fun on this live stream talking about all this, especially UFO stuff. UFO stuff is really cool. And to be honest, I don't really remember what we talked about at the beginning. It's getting so late. I'm getting kind of delirious. Anti-flat are cute that you think it's late and it's 8:30 there. So no, but every single person on these panels, if you haven't subbed to them, sub to them. These talking to these guys, they're fantastic and everything like that. And I can't wait to hang out with you guys again. So thank you for watching us. If you made it this far, you're absolutely awesome.
Oh yeah, everybody in the chat has been awesome tonight. I've been peeking at it, and they're great. Is there anybody we haven't heard from yet?
If it's all right by you, Logical Troglodyte, I wouldn't mind saying something really briefly.
Sure, absolutely.
Well, look, I know I only came on about halfway through, but I wanted to say, one, thank you very much for inviting me on, man. I'm really happy you did, because it's been a lot of fun. Obviously, congratulations on hitting 500. Although you're so far over 500 now already, it will be 600 in no time at this rate. I can only reiterate what everyone else has said on the panel. And Anthony, that Lego analogy is genius. The only thing I'd want to add to it is that not only do they bring you a box of Lego and say, do your research, but they're also simultaneously telling you that even though the box has a Millennium Falcon on it, oh no, it's actually an Apollo 5, mate. Yeah, it's a conspiracy. The box is a lie, and that's a fake photo, and it's all just to convince you. Well, it actually isn't here in this Lego is not what you think it is. It's insanity, these people. Anyway, look, thank you for having me on, man. It's been brilliant.
Yeah, I'm glad you showed up. And Taddy Boggle, we haven't heard from you or Robert Legere as our chief mods for a while. Do you want to say anything before we go off?
No, I'd just like to echo the congratulations in getting over your 500. Please do sub to all the rest of the panel if you've not already done so, folks. And thanks very much in the chat. You've been an absolute legends, every single one of you.
Thanks, Teddy. You're great. What about you, Ray?
You're amazing, mate.
Can I make one more mention?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would like to thank somebody in the chat for giving me the insight to develop the courage to be open and public on panels and stuff like that. And that thanks goes to Kiri Mack. Thanks, kid.
Oh, Kiri is wonderful in this community, isn't she?
Indeed. Great, yeah.
And what about you, Robert Legere? Are you still awake enough to say anything to the audience before we kick off? I guess not. I'm sorry. Well, I guess Robert did fall asleep, but yeah, it is 3:42 in the morning for him and I. So, well, I want to thank everybody on the panel for coming in tonight. It's been a blast talking to y'all. And I want to thank all of my subs for supporting my channel and everybody that's stuck with us the whole time. I'm showing 32 people in the chat. You guys are amazing, and you're the reason we do this. So with that, I want to say good night. God bless, whether or not you believe in God, and have a great night, great day, and I will catch you another time.
Good night.
Good night.
Good
night.
night.
Cheers, guys.
I would definitely
Thanks,
be on the
Lodge.
screen if there wasn't going to be any viewers.
Yep, that's
It's all
true.
for you guys. It's all you.
Is it okay to fart now?
I don't know. Tom, are we out?
On a rotating, whirling, twirling rock in space that is just a fantasy in your head.
Comes to a light in the sky being a gas in a vacuum. Second law of thermodynamics violation, a violation of a natural law.
Of the chemtrails, they put little, these nanobot things, that come down, come inside of us.